Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Garcia and Hall. Ola Joseph had it stripped away. Tyson Walker trying to create contact. Leaves it up for Holgard. Miss and run. Tomahawk jam. Walker from the elbow hits the jumper. He's in double figures. 29 straight games with 10 or more.
Here's Llewellyn. He'll try the three. Count it. And the foul. A punch inside. Can't get it to go. Numbers for Illinois and the finish for Rogers.
Good morning. Welcome in to Hurrdat Sports Radio here on a Friday. I'm Ravi Lulla. Avarie Howard with me this morning. We're on AM 590, ESPN Omaha, and ESPN Tri-Cities. Avarie, how are you this morning?
I'm good. I am good.
You look a little chilly.
As well. Yeah, I kind of feel like I'm trying to make sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear yourself?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I kind of feel like I'm on my way to, or I guess maybe not on my way to, but a little PTSD from like college soccer as I have my parka on here.
I noticed the team issue parka.
Like a penguin.
Yeah, kind of. And like you, it's pitch black in the morning for morning workout or practice, and it's freezing, and then you get to the locker room and you just kind of sit in the parka for a while. You don't really change yet, put the cleats on yet. You just kind of sit and contemplate for a little bit.
You just stare into the nothingness, like just
at everyone. Everyone's just like
staring straight ahead, wondering what am I doing here?
Yeah,
people don't know this. I do that every morning. My alarm goes off. Every morning, my alarm goes off at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Why is this happening?
Yeah, why is it pitch black?
And then 30 minutes later, I'm ready to go, and I'm like, all right, let's go. But there is that. You need that time to just settle in and be like, why is this happening to me?
Yeah. I grabbed the parka out of the closet this morning. I was like, all right, we're doing this.
Yep, we are on. If you're wondering, we're on day 3 here without heat in the venue. Don't worry if you want to go to Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. That side of the building has heat. The part where we do a radio show does not have heat, so that is why we're still. We're not doing this show outside, thankfully. But we're at, I believe, 58 degrees in here this morning. So staying nice and toasty.
Yeah, you could say.
Better than Buffalo, where where apparently they are once again asking their fans to scoop out the stadium.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't understand the mindset of people that's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna go volunteer for this. Now I think they get paid a little bit.
20 an hour.
Which is not bad. That's like a nice little chunk of change.
I think that's what I saw.
I think they also get like a sandwich or something, which is okay, sure. I gotta be honest, I would need a lot more than that to volunteer to shovel out a stadium.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I've never been to Buffalo, so maybe someone from New York can attest to this. But if the cold is anything like it is here, I'm out.
No, 100%.
But if it's like I don't know if it is. Like I said, someone would have to help me out here. But if it's like a Colorado cold where the snow's on the ground, you can enjoy the cold, and it's not like
it's like 32 degrees
numbing.
outside.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know. Yeah, I can help you out. But
well, let's look it up. Let's see what the Buffalo weather is like.
Like, what does it feel like? That's what I need to know.
So it's 23 degrees air temp right now. It looks like, so that's not terrible. It's gonna get up to nope. It's gonna get up to like 24 today in Buffalo. So it's not like it is here. That's not terrible.
Yeah.
But it's not warm.
No.
I just don't understand the mindset of like, do they just want to be on the field that badly? Is that?
Yeah, I guess I think that probably there's an appeal to it too. I think it's probably that. And there's just like, some of these, I did see some people talk about this in Kansas City last week, that because the ticket prices dropped to where they did, people that can't always afford a playoff game, like this was their big game to be able to enjoy it. And obviously it was freezing, but they got to watch the Chiefs actually play a pretty good performance.
For sure.
There was that balance as well. So unfortunately it was kind of a big sacrifice, but I know there's probably a group of people that this is their everything, whatever their team is.
Sure.
This is a big shot for them to go be in the environment and the atmosphere and stuff like that. So I'm sure there's that draw as well.
See, this is why I'm a basketball fan. You never have to go to an arena and scoop it out. Nobody asks you to do that ever. No, I was trying to think. I was like, is there a team that I would do that for? And I think the answer is no. I don't think I would.
Okay.
Would you go scoop out like the Chiefs? Are you going to help them out?
Probably not the Chiefs, no. But I don't know. If it was like dire need, I don't know.
Would you go help out? I know you're big Nebraska football, right? Like that's like your
yeah. Only thing is I know that like 400,000 million people would jump in line before I even said, sure, I'd help. So I don't know if they need me, but
fair enough. That's fair enough. We've got a good show for you on tap today. Coming up in a little bit, we will talk to a little college basketball with Brian Burton. He's an analyst for ESPN and the Field of 68. At 8:45, we'll talk to one of my favorites, Cynthia Frelund from the NFL Network, previewing the NFL weekend. And then, of course, we've got our Friday regulars, Mike Sautter, our very own here from Hurrdat Sports, covering Nebraska basketball and all things preps. And then we'll wrap up the show at 9:45 with Matt Vrzal, former Husker, to wrap up our week. But before we get to any of that, kind of speaking of fan bases here, I was, we're talking to Cynthia later, and she's a huge Lions fan, right? And so I was like, if the 49ers don't make it, which I hope they do, and the NFC's kind of falling apart a little bit, so I hope they do. But if the 49ers don't make it, I think I could deal with the Lions having some success, right?
Yeah.
They're a long-suffering fan base.
Yeah.
They're really not annoying.
No.
Because they don't have anything to brag about.
No.
So they're a very easy fan base to get along with. And they, even last week after they won, they weren't like, I told you so, or nobody believed in us. They were just, I'm so happy.
Yeah.
So I could root for the Lions a little bit. I could deal with them. I was trying to figure out, of the teams left, who I would least like to have be successful in the NFL playoffs. And I think it's the Packers.
Yeah, that's fair.
They're the most annoying ones left, right?
That's great. I was really concerned where you're going to go with that one, so I'm glad that's the direction you went.
Who do you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to say Kansas City.
So I know a lot of people think Kansas City fans are annoying.
Yeah.
I understand that.
We had a long waiting period.
Yes, I will say.
And people forget that a lot.
Chiefs fans did go from like 0 to 60 really quickly. Like they went
really quickly.
They went from long-suffering fan base to how dare you ever doubt us and like super annoying really fast. So I get it. I get the annoyance.
Yeah,
with Kansas
I do
City.
too. But
I really like Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, naturally.
I love Andy Reid.
Yeah, I know.
I am a huge Andy Reid dork.
It's hard not to like, honestly.
He really is.
He's pretty even keel. He doesn't really insert himself in much of anything.
No. And he just does not take himself too seriously.
No. And he's a very smart football mind that like you can't, it's hard to argue with. He's
an incredible football coach.
Yeah.
When the 49ers played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, 2019 season, it was the 2020 playoffs. I was actually okay that they lost to the Chiefs because I wanted Andy Reid to get a Super Bowl that badly.
Yeah. In KC.
And I was, well, not even just I just thought, I was like, hey, he's too good of a football coach not to have a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You kind of have those guys, whether it's, you get players a lot that, end up without a championship or whatever, people bring up like Charles Barkley a lot. Oh, like he was too good not to win a championship, whatever. That's how I felt about Andy Reid. I was like, I really want Andy Reid to get one. I figured Patrick Mahomes would have plenty of opportunities, so I wasn't super worried about him. But after all the like near misses in Philadelphia, I was like, man, Andy Reid really deserves a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I don't root against Kansas City, although I do get it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I understand. I just, every once in a while people are like, you guys are just never had, I'm a, whoa. Whoa, we sure have. But everyone also forgets, well, I think that doesn't help that the time that the Chiefs were starting to kind of turn their corner was right after the Royals had their 2 back-to-back things. So everyone's like, you guys haven't had to wait for anything. I'm like, oh,
timeout.
We're going to go back one more time.
Let's rewind a little bit here.
100%. So, and the Royals had their, we saw it climbing, we hit the climax, and then we
fell off the mountain.
Yeah, we did.
So
the Chiefs really picked it up and whatever. But so I can understand why people get annoyed too. But as a child, it was like, we're gonna go to a Chiefs game with your brother's football team and be like, oh, can we just watch it at home? Where now it's like, oh my God, that's
going to a Chiefs game.
Yeah.
Let's go. What was that? Was that like this is probably too early. That wasn't like the Trent Green era, was it?
It would have been like my childhood era was like Trent Green, and then it kind of rolled into Alex Smith.
Okay,
but
and then there was like a handful of randos in between there.
Yeah, a little bit, and then
like a Brody Croyle, I think it was
potentially
sprinkled in there at one point.
Touchdown!
Yeah.
Thank you, Mitch.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
incredible.
I also really liked Alex Smith because he was
Mhm.
a 49ers guy,
Yeah.
and I was like, he didn't really get a great deal over there. So I always kind of rooted for Alex Smith as well. So
yeah, he's awesome.
I have a soft spot in my heart for the Kansas City Chiefs, although I do understand most people's answer would be the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I also think this is weird because the Bills are a long-suffering fan
Mhm.
base. I also find them very annoying.
Yeah, they're mafia.
Their Bills
vibe.
mafia deal, like they act like they've won recently, and they have not won recently.
Yeah.
I also need them to stop telling me that Josh Allen is good because I'm not sure that I buy it.
No.
I buy that he's good. They try and put him in the Mahomes category, and those are not the same thing.
Yeah.
I just can't deal with the Allen is, as good as Mahomes. I can't do it.
Yeah, I feel like that one's tough. I will say when you look at the last 4 years now,
Mhm.
it's basically been a Mahomes Allen
Absolutely.
showdown to get there. So I feel like for them that might give, and I guess it's not just Bills fans. This is a lot of people, but they get in that conversation a lot. So I think it might just start to feel bad because we're talking about these 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the same situation constantly. They're the same.
I get it. They're not the same.
We're gonna do this thing again. We're gonna keep it.
I can't emphasize to you enough how they are not the same.
Yeah.
And we'll get to this a little bit later. Shane, you don't have that audio yet, do you?
I do not. No,
okay,
sorry.
Okay. We'll get to this a little bit later, but Amy Trask had an outrageous comment.
Yeah.
On a radio show, I believe. I couldn't find exactly where it was coming from, but it was tweeted out by a radio station in San Francisco, 95.7. But I couldn't tell if they were just tweeting it out because she was being inflammatory or if they were tweeting it out because it was on their air.
Do you want me to just play it as is? How you sent it to me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, let me.
It's just like the first 10 seconds.
Let me cue it up here.
Okay. So this is former radio CEO and current CBS analyst Amy Trask. I believe it was yesterday on a radio show.
4 games this week. That means we have 8 quarterbacks. Did that math all by myself.
Good girl.
4 games, 8 quarterbacks, 7 terrific quarterbacks, and Brock Purdy.
So
it's crazy.
That's an absurd thing to say out loud.
Yeah.
Not just out loud, but like that's one of those inside thoughts where it's like, oh, maybe you think that. That's not a thing you should say out loud if you're a respected football voice.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I just hate that she thinks that.
Yeah, I don't
begin with.
I don't understand
if that's like what you think. Like,
I listened to the whole clip. That's in context.
Yeah, right. Like how it was presented. Like, unfortunately, I hate that thought really crossed her mind. I guess. I mean, I understand where people are coming from. That it's like you weren't the top blah 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 quarterback, and so when we mean 7 terrific quarterbacks, like sure, but like. It's like you need to like have a resume on a snap of a fingers, like
Yeah. Well, I have a really hard time with this because she goes on to say she kind of hedges herself a little bit. She goes on to say it's like I don't think he's bad. I think he's a good quarterback. I just think the other 7 are better, which is a wild take.
Yeah.
Because I tweeted this out yesterday.
Yeah.
Tell me if I'm crazy or not, because I had a little pushback on Twitter, but
I'll go look at it.
One of them was from a Oklahoma homer for sure. So I don't really care about that one. Shout out Oklahoma Tyler. I know you're probably listening, but that I said there is not a team you could take the other 6 if you want.
Yeah.
There is not a team in the league that takes Baker Mayfield over Brock Purdy.
I was looking at the other, like maybe a Jordan Love or something even. Before I'd say.
For sure.
Yeah, I guess those are interchangeable probably.
For my personal preference, I'm taking Brock over several of the guys.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's an NFL team in the league that could talk themselves into Baker Mayfield over Brock Purdy.
Yeah, Baker's had a good season, but not to the extent of what Brock's done within the end of last year.
Yeah, for the last year and a half.
Into this year, yeah.
He has lost 3 games. He's like 20-3 as a starter and is actually putting up good numbers. But also Baker Mayfield didn't have a job for a lot of the last year.
Right.
Like no one, anyone, this is how I know it's true because anyone in the league could have had him and he had trouble finding work.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was with options much less effective than Brock Purdy.
Right.
So at the very least, Brock Purdy's 7 on that list ahead of Baker Mayfield. But I agree with you. Like, Jordan Love's had a nice year.
Yeah.
I'll take Brock Purdy over Jordan Love.
I'd say even Jared Goff.
I agree. I've got him over Jared Goff as well. Now, that's where it's like, okay, after that, a lot of it's preference, right? Personally, I mean, obviously, Mahomes and Lamar are no questions, right? They're ahead of everybody else. I know a lot of people are going to put Josh Allen up there. Josh Allen's a turnover machine.
Yeah.
He is a turnover machine. He's had, I think, 18 interceptions and 4 lost fumbles. So you're talking about 22 turnovers, and I think he's in the neighborhood of like 45 touchdowns. So it's basically for every 2 touchdowns, you have a turnover. Which is not a good ratio. Not in today's NFL.
No.
We're not talking about like your Bradshaw 70 Steelers or whatever, where you could throw a pick for every touchdown you throw. That's not how it works anymore. Josh Allen, yes, talent-wise, he's better than Brock. I'm not sure he's as good in the 49ers system as Brock is. Like, if you switch their places.
Yeah, I think Brock works for the 49ers because how the 49ers work.
Yes. Now, are there places where he wouldn't be as good? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you switch like CJ Stroud and Brock Purdy, maybe CJ Stroud's better.
Yeah.
Right? And if you put Brock Purdy with the Texans, maybe he's not as good.
Yeah.
But there's at the very least 3 quarterbacks on this list that I'm not taking ahead of Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
And you could probably talk me into like 4.
Yeah. Someone says, tell me J Love wouldn't be smacking fools with Debo, Ayuk, and CMC.
Yeah, I don't think that's true. I don't think the way he processes the game is as effective as the way Brock Purdy does. Yeah. Because we've seen other we saw Trey Lance. We saw Trey Lance try and do this, who's physically way better. We saw Jimmy Garoppolo, who is physically really talented.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, this isn't a system that everybody works in.
Yeah.
We've seen that. This isn't one of those things where it's like, oh, you just plug and play. Also, by the way, we never had this conversation with Kurt Warner. Everybody was okay that he had Isaac Bruce and Marshall Faulk and Torrey Holt and Oz Hakeem. Everybody was cool with it. And, oh, by the way, the most innovative offensive system at the time with Mike Martz.
Yeah.
We were all okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's great right out the chute. Undrafted, Arena League guy, no problem whatsoever. Wins the NFL MVP his first year in the league. I get he put up great numbers. I get they went and won the Super Bowl and it was terrific, right? How was that any different than what Brock Purdy's doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not to discredit the guys that are on this list and that are left because it's not that they're not talented.
I like Jared Goff.
Yeah, I think it's just that for the resume and the body of work that Brock Purdy has put together, it's hard to say there's 7 terrific guys and then there's this guy. Good luck to the 49ers. We're the 49ers right now are most highly projected.
Yeah.
With Mr. Irrelevant. So I think that's the part. I don't know. So it's an interesting conversation because it kind of feels like a wild statement. Obviously, he's not in the same draft class and ranking as the other guys, but outside of that, he's winning football games and getting his team further in the playoffs.
And I mean, okay, so we'll talk about some guys that got kicked out of the last round. Are you taking Brock Purdy over Dak Prescott? Because I would.
Yeah.
Would you take and this one's harder, but Brock Purdy or Jalen Hurts?
See, that's my tough.
That one's tough, right? Yeah. But it is a conversation.
Yeah.
That's where so that's why that statement of there's 7 great quarterbacks and then Brock Purdy, I don't know what she was smoking. Probably whatever she was smoking the same time that she was then when she saw over the draft of Jamarcus Russell with the Raiders. Because that was on her watch. So I don't know if we maybe trust her with quarterback evaluations so much.
4 games this week. That means we have 8 quarterbacks. Did that math all by myself. Good girl. 4 games, 8 quarterbacks, 7 terrific quarterbacks, and Brock Purdy.
I mean, listen, if you want to lose games in the playoffs, that's fine. I'm going to take Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
That's fine. Tiger Shark Diver says, I wish Brock's brother was good at football. Specifically quarterback position. He might be. We don't know. It's just not going to be at Nebraska.
Yeah, that seemed kind of harsh. Ouch.
He might be good at football. We don't know.
We enjoyed him for the few moments we had him.
I will say
at the end of the year,
for the 2 games or whatever.
Yeah, as media members and fan base, I think there was a spark of hope there for moments.
I will say he is the quarterback this year, I get that he didn't win any games. I get that he had some turnover problem. I think all of his games ended in an interception, which is not a great look. But I think I was the least worried with him at quarterback.
Yeah, like when we were at Wisconsin in the start that he had to that game, I think everyone up in the booth was like, okay, like, all right, that was some juice. Like, let's, and then what was the game what was the game right before Wisconsin?
Was it Maryland?
That he came in kind of towards the end of the game and even just had a great drive. Was it Maryland?
I think it was.
Either way, the end of that game was the one
Maryland.
that kind of solidified that, like he's going to get the go ahead for Wisconsin.
Yeah, they ended up. He ended up throwing the
overtime
interception
thing
at the goal line there.
Either way,
but I believe it was
he injected some energy quite quickly,
and he looked competent. I mean, that's not to take anything away from. I mean, I will take something away from Jeff Sims and to a lesser extent Harburg, but like Jeff Sims didn't look competent at any point this season.
Yeah, and I think we've broken that one down a lot, but I think Chubba was facing injuries that we knew of, and it was kind of debilitating. And I think if we've talked about how important belief is on this team, this coaching staff, and I'm curious if he had more of the belief that he had at the end of the season within himself and from the staff. Like what could have happened earlier in the year? Because for the confidence that he had to start that Wisconsin game, it was pretty immediate. Like it felt like he was in control. You could see it. There was no indecisiveness.
I mean, he looked like a quarterback who knew what he was doing.
And going into that week, it was, we believe in you. You're our guy this week. And I think all season long, they'd been trying to figure that out. And Heinrich had gotten the belief at time, which is fine. He did what Nebraska needed him to do at points in the season.
The only quarterback to win any games last year.
Yeah, so I think I'm curious to see what happens, and obviously there's nothing but the best of luck to Chubba and where he's headed, because I would love to see him be able to piece together a season healthy and put together a good resume.
I also wonder, because I know he had committed to San Jose State, but then their coach just left, so I'm curious to see if he actually ends up there or not.
I know
Brent Brennan ends up at Arizona. The Purdy's are from Arizona. Maybe he follows him to Arizona. I hope he does well though, because I liked Chubba here at Nebraska. I wasn't a huge fan when he was at Florida State. I do think he got a lot better when he got to Nebraska. So we'll see here. But what I do know is that Brock Purdy, not the 8th best quarterback in the playoffs left. I can say that with confidence.
Yeah.
And I know that TK is blowing me up on Twitter over here. I don't buy it. I'm taking Brock Purdy over Jared Goff every day of the week if twice on Sunday or Saturday in this case, as the 49ers play on Saturday.
Yeah. Tomorrow in 62-degree weather.
Oh, I am gonna be real jealous watching that one. Coming up, we've got some college football news that I want to get to. A lot of people go to college for 9 years, and mostly they're tight ends from Miami, apparently. We've got that and more coming up next year on Hurrdat Sports Radio. AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio here on AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. If you want to join the video stream, you can give us a call at 888-638-4876 on the Warhorse Sportsbook hotline. I gave it a little tease before the break. I'm Ravi Lulla, Avarie Howard here with me, Shane Schillerberg producing, about a Miami tight end that has made national news, which is kind of funny because he hasn't produced that much on the football field. I don't know if he's good or not because he's barely played.
Yeah.
But Miami tight end, Cam McCormick, Miami Hurricanes tight end. If he was a Miami Dolphins tight end playing for his 9th year, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But Miami Hurricanes tight end, Cam McCormick, has been granted a 9th year of eligibility by the NCAA. 9th year. That's the number before 10.
Uh-huh.
I want to make sure I'm clear
Before a
here.
decade.
We are just shy of a decade here of this man being eligible for college sports. I want to make sure you're not thinking you're hearing me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I did say 9, as in the number between 8 and 10.
Yeah.
That's a long time to do anything.
Yeah.
I've never had a job for 9 years. The longest I've ever been at any place is like 6.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
As an adult.
Yeah.
He was in the 2016 recruiting class.
Yeah, we mentioned this off air in 2016.
Who else was in that recruiting class?
Well, yeah,
Avery?
but well, I find that 2016, I was a sophomore in high school. I'm now out of college. This man's still doing it. Okay, he was with Jalen Hurts, one of the Bosa brothers. Hold on, Nick, I think. Yep, I just had it right in front of me.
Justin Herbert, right?
Yep, and Rashawn Gary.
Justin Herbert was literally in his recruiting class at Oregon.
Yeah.
And is a well-established NFL player now.
Just saw the rest of it. Yeah, Rashawn Gary, Jalen Hurts, Nick Bosa are the three, and then I think you just said
Justin Herbert.
Herbert, yeah.
He was in that class at Oregon. He is still in college. In 2016, I was still more than a year away from my first marriage ending. Like we're a whole ass marriage ago for me in 2016. That is so long ago.
Crazy.
Well, and the amazing thing is too, I mean, if you think about it, how many different teammates has he gone through? I mean, you're talking what, 3 full different teams?
Basically, yeah.
I mean, that's incredible right there.
He is. So this will be his 9th year in college. Yeah. At this point, he's got to be like in a PhD program, right? Like, how else does it work?
I was just going to read this off because this was the first question we had, and I'm sure everyone else has the same question. How is it possible? So 2016, he was a red shirt.
Yeah, he was a normal, regular red
shirt. Yep. So then 2017 was his red shirt freshman season.
And he played in 2017.
And then in 2018, he had a season-ending injury.
Okay.
So that marks his season-ending injury.
I'm gonna got a tally.
Okay, you got it.
Yeah.
And then 2019, he missed the entire season due to injury.
That's 2.
And then COVID happened.
That's an extra year, 3.
Yep. And then 2021, he had a season-ending injury.
That's 4.
So we have 3 season-ending injuries at this point.
Plus COVID.
Yep. Now we're at 2022, and he did play as a senior in 13 games. In 2023, he was granted a year of eligibility because he transferred to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we're at 2024 where he is granted that year of eligibility.
Yeah, so we're going to do it on the fingers here if you're watching on. So we've got regular redshirt year, season-ending injury,
yep.
COVID, season-ending injury.
Yep.
That is
actually, take that back. The last one is because he transfers, it says granted year of eligibility because transfers to Miami. So I don't know what that means.
How does that work?
I don't know. CBS Sports is the outlet here, so I don't know.
I've never heard of that before.
Unless he was there a thing where if you did it? No, that wouldn't be it either.
Yeah, because you used to have to sit out a year when you transfer.
Yeah,
but
that's not it. That's no longer. Unless he was still. Yeah, I'm out of reasons on that one actually.
So however that kind of goes to my point though, or one of my points here. Is that the NCAA makes almost no sense.
Correct.
Because, and this is, I don't know if this is like a conspiracy theory or if it's just whatever. I feel like they grant more eligibility to guys that don't impact games.
I was just going to bring that up because I would love to see this guy like go off in 2024 so he can like get what he needed out of this because he's had 3 season-ending injuries, and I would say after the second one, I unfortunately have to make the hard decision to hang it up. Potentially, I'm curious what they are, because hopefully, like he's okay.
Well, and I think one of them, the way it was written, it sounded like one of them lasted like 2 years.
Okay, so I'm assuming maybe that's what happened here.
Yeah, I think he had one, and then there were complications with that one,
which is very understandable.
Yeah, so I also think that factors into why the NCAA was like, "Hey, this was all one injury."
Yeah, understood.
So I think that's part of it.
Right. But it's interesting because what I said is I hope that he does get what he needs out of this year to like maybe
like find some
closure. Yeah. Because one of his things is he says I just love really being a part of a team, and those injuries have hindered that. And so sure. But I think we've heard so many guys that are just trying to find that 4 or 5 years of the eligibility clock that you get that literally cannot get a waiver. And it's like,
for like legitimate reasons.
Yeah.
Too,
and it's like hard to figure out why they wouldn't be able to. And obviously I'm looking at this list in front of me, and I see where the exception comes in at times, but yet it's so hard when you see 9 years, and then there's guys that are looking just for that
5th or 6th year.
Yes, or even just a full 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And get the thumbs up.
And this man's gonna walk out with a doctorate by the time he's done.
I would love to know. Like
what is he
wish,
studying?
I know. I need to look this over because it doesn't say much about school.
No, it says nothing about school.
Yeah.
Which is pretty common in college articles here. Shane, can you try and slide in this man's DMs on Twitter and see if I just want to talk to him about school. That's it.
Yeah.
Cam McCormick, the tight end that's been in college for 10 years.
It's just crazy looking at, we looked at 2016. It just freaks me out. I literally was learning to drive. And then he was a freshman in college. And now I have gone through college. I'm out of college and he's still in college. And he's also older than me, obviously. When you do the comparison and you figure out which guys have been in the NFL for a few years, it just starts to really dawn on you.
2016 was 2 presidents ago.
Yeah.
2 we are talking this is an insanely long amount of time.
Yeah.
I am very curious what he's studying because he has to be on a doctorate at this point. Unless he just keeps stacking masters on top of each other.
Yeah.
But at this point, just go ahead and get that doctorate.
Yeah, if he was political science, the climate of which he was studying his freshman year is completely different.
He's got to redo the bachelor's. It's we live in a different world.
Yeah, start over.
we got to redo this.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But I also, if this guy was a standout, if he was an all Pac-12 player or an all ACC player, I don't think he gets the extra eligibility. I feel like we saw this with Talia Tagovailoa.
Yeah.
With Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
He got denied his 6th year because he played in 4 too many snaps, basically.
Yeah.
Which is, I get that the rule's the rule, but the rule is also you don't stay in college for 9 years. So obviously they're not real sticklers on the rule here.
I know.
And so I'm just, if he was somebody who was dramatically impacting football games, I really don't think they would have allowed this to happen.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, he probably would have tried to move on to the NFL by that point if he was that good. But you have this kind of weird place of college guys that can be really good college football players. They're they're never going to make it in the NFL, right? And he's not even that level. It's frustrating trying to figure out what the NCAA is thinking ever.
Yeah.
But especially in situations like this.
Socially, it kind of cracks me up because what is it? How does a 25-year-old hang out with a 17-year-old,
right?
And I'm
in
not
the locker room.
Yeah, and I shouldn't say that. It's you can't not hang out, but it's just funny. You're literally on. One kid is so excited for everything in college, and this other guy's
got a mortgage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you do. I mean, you get some older guys sometimes.
Yeah, you do. It's not an anomaly, but
I just have this picture of him living in a dorm room.
I know.
Which is he's probably not I'm sure he has an apartment or whatever. But if he's taking his little shower caddy down the hall and stuff, it would be hilarious to watch this 25-year-old.
It's an episode of not episode, a movie of Elf, but make it college football edition.
I mean, it's basically Van Wilder, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Here.
We wish you all the best, sir.
I do. I do. I hope he does well. He said in the article that I read that he wants to go to the NFL, and I was I don't know that they're looking for a lot of 26-year-old tight ends that I've had 4 season-ending injuries, but you do you, King. That's cool.
He heard the NIL thing was coming. He was "Get through it."
I gotta hold on.
Hold on.
Gotta hold on for 1 more year, and that turned into 4 more years. And
yeah.
Here we are with a almost full decade of college football for Cam McCormick. I don't like school enough to be in college for 9 years. That's too much school.
Yeah, that's hard.
Hanging
up the cleats is a hard decision, but the school part,
man, go come hang out with the Omaha Beef. Come play some arena ball or something. There's other ways to be a part of the team.
Yeah.
Get way too into pickleball like I did.
Yeah.
We've got more at Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. will be back. We will be back.
Have done it. Damn, hadn't won it since 2012. Joey, they did it.
Radio.
Missed it. Rebound by Walton to near midcourt. Official goes down. Quinterly fires a three. Off the rim, the Bulls have done it. Oh my God, the Bulls have done it. Damn, hadn't won it since 2012. Joey, they did it.
We will be back.
12. Joey, they did it. We have witnessed one of the great wins in the history of USF men's basketball. The great wins in the history of USF men's basketball. Missed it. Rebound by Walton.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Wrapping up hour number one here on Hurrdat Sports Radio on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I'm Ravi Lulla, Avarie Howard here with me on a Friday. Hopefully you're out there staying warm today. It is, they teased us a little bit with like the 20-degree weather yesterday.
I know.
I got a little too excited about it.
I know. I feel like we've entered like delusion a little bit. The fact that I was like, oh, I'll get an iced coffee today. I'm like, get it together.
It was a full like 35 degrees warmer than it had been here.
I know.
Though.
Seriously, it's like kind of sickening. Like people were like out walking their dogs again, like around my neighborhood. I'm like, this is crazy.
No,
it was funny watching. Like I felt bad for all those families that just got a dog for Christmas.
Oh,
I really
yeah.
do. Like tough one, because watching people take the dogs out during last week,
terrible.
it was like a run in, run out. Like we have neighbors across the street that have these two little corgis, and by God, I'm not kidding you when I tell you my roommate and I were like, does she need our help to carry them through the snow? Like literally all you saw, you didn't even see them. You just saw two trails being like trudged through the snow. You couldn't even see them. No. And all of a sudden, poof, here come two dogs at the end. We were like, oh God. But now like it was, like you said, like in the 20s and people were enjoying it.
Oh
yeah. More. It was a longer walk outside versus the sprint out, sprint back in.
Well, I'm lucky to have a yard, so I don't have to, I can let them out. But I was still, every time I was letting my dogs out, and maybe this is because I'm a paranoid dog parent, which is fine. But I like geared up in all my snow gear, because there was a couple times where they kind of just were standing out there, and I was like, "Did you get frozen out there? What's happening?"
I know.
And so I go out there, and I'm like, "Hey, we gotta go back inside, man. You can't just chill out here."
I know.
And I felt bad for them, but so yesterday I let them run around a little bit in the snow, and they thought it was the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're back to negative, I think 20 tonight, which I'm excited about.
I was just gonna
maybe
look,
tomorrow.
actually. Yeah.
It starts to warm up again on Sunday, but I think it gets to negative 21 tomorrow.
It's exciting.
It's not exciting, Shane. I'm not a fan. I will say a little bit of life advice. Don't ever get a puppy in the winter.
I mean,
it's a terrible idea.
Oh.
I got my wife a dog for Christmas one year,
mm-hmm.
and love him to death. He's the best. But you have to take a puppy out like every couple hours.
Yeah, and they're cold.
All the time. Like middle of the night, the whole thing. You don't want to be doing that in the winter. No. It is a terrible idea.
Nobody can do that.
Wouldn't trade Doug for the world, but also would never get a puppy in the winter again.
Yeah.
It's a terrible idea. It's a lot anyway.
Yeah.
Like just dealing with a puppy.
Yeah.
It is. Can't imagine doing it in the winter ever again.
Yeah, I just was looking at the weather, and we do get warmer
after Saturday,
but with a chance of snow on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, cool.
We're gonna be all right.
Cool. I don't know if we are, Doc. I don't know if we are gonna be all right.
Did anyone else? I'm sure everyone else did. Obviously, got that alert on the phone yesterday.
Yeah, what is
a snow squall?
I don't know what that is.
Well, that's been a topic of conversation literally for the last 12 hours. Everyone's like, did you guys get the snow squall?
Yeah.
I guess
it was like a tornado warning notification, but it was a snow squall.
Basically, from some of my research, it seems like it was one of those, what do they call it? The
microburst?
Yeah,
maybe?
one of those. Because the snow came with the wind, like the wind was consistent, but it came like very heavy all at once, and then it kind of died down pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I don't know how much was different than the rest of the 3 hours following because
yes, it's still snow.
The wind was
still snowing and windy and terrible.
I don't know, but I will say we have a lake right outside of our apartment, and I could not see it. And then like 30 minutes later, after that notification, like I could see it again. So I don't know if that's what that meant, but
I don't either. I don't know what qualifies as a squall as opposed to just like a bad storm, right? Obviously, it must be something. Otherwise, they wouldn't have emergency alerts for it. But the only time I've ever heard the term squall is like at sea.
It says the only difference between a snow squall and a snowstorm or microburst is the duration of an event. Snow squalls are usually very short-lived, around 30 minutes. So I guess that would be why. Okay. Snowstorms last several hours, as we know. Okay.
So it was just like short and intense, and then it was gone.
Yeah, which I did see. Like, I'm glad everyone got sent home from our company when they did, because the rush hour stuff, as predicted, was no bueno.
Yeah, my wife was coming home right before the snow squall alert, and she got home like right when that hit. So she was able, but even before that, it was really bad because it had been snowing for a while on top of the kind of already crappy streets. But yeah, I'll be honest, I had never heard of the term squall outside of like a seafaring movie.
Yeah.
I was, you hear like, oh, we're out of, there's a squall coming. I was like, I thought it was a sea storm. I didn't even know you could have them in the Midwest, much less a snow squall. So we're learning new things here as the weather is teaching us about life here in the Midwest.
The amount of times that me and my roommate said it, and then also like we're on the phone with our parents at certain times, and then our friends, we're like, it just sounds like we don't know how to say squirrel.
Yeah.
The more and more you say it, a snow squall. It's like, no.
It also, it feels like one of those, we learned about frost quakes last week. It feels like every couple years, the meteorologists kind of make up a new term.
Well, look what Amazing Daniel just said on the thing. He said that too. He said they're gaslighting us.
I sort of feel like they are. Like, I remember, this was before you were born, but I hate that I can even say that. In October of 97, there was this crazy, I was in like 5th grade. There was this crazy snowstorm. Amazing Daniel will remember because he's even older than I am. But there was this crazy snowstorm in October, and that's the first time I ever heard the term thunder snow.
Oh yeah.
But that's like, I don't think it existed before that. And they're like, oh, it thundered and it snowed. No. That must be the answer.
Yeah.
It's thunder snow.
Yeah.
And they just said it like it was just a regular thing.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you can't just make up terms like frostquake and thunder snow and expect me to accept it as just this thing that's always existed.
Uh-huh.
Like, I don't know if they're trying to like Mandela affect us here or whatever, where it's like, no, we've always had thunder snow.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you don't.
don't.
I remember when you invented it. I remember when you invented like frostquakes just all of a sudden are a thing. I've lived here for 36 years. I remember like 30 of them pretty well. And this is the first time I've ever heard frostquake.
Yeah.
This is not the first time it's been this temperature here.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, frostquakes are a thing.
Sounds like it should be like a Dairy Queen blizzard.
It really does. It sounds delicious, by the way. It's like It's like a fudgy frost, like blizzard deal.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, maybe they're learning things about the weather, but also I've never heard the ground like crack and yell at me the way it did during the frostquakes either.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening. It's very disconcerting.
Yeah.
And I don't appreciate it.
Yeah.
Amazing Daniel says,
No big deal.
I'm like Moses over here. Hell, I remember when a regular person never used El Nino. That's true. All of a sudden they were talking about El Nino and they're like, don't worry, there's also La Nina. And I'm like, that sounds made up. That's not a real thing. It sounds like you're just like, well, I took Spanish in 8th grade.
Yeah.
If there's an El Nino, there must also be a La Nina.
Definitely has a sister.
Yeah, there's definitely the feminine form of the storm, obviously.
Yeah.
It's like, that doesn't sound real.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got frostquakes, we've got snow squalls,
Squirrels,
thunder, squirrel. We've got thunder snow. Apparently, they're all real things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I believe that even.
Welcome to Hurrdat Sports.
Well, yeah, welcome to Hurrdat. I mean, what? Do you want me to talk about the Polynesian Bowl? Are you going to watch that?
Good. Is it tomorrow?
I think is it tonight?
See, that's probably an issue. I probably should know, huh?
We should know when it is if we're gonna watch.
I start to get these games confused when they start putting the NFL on Saturday, which I'm totally okay with. By the way,
I kind of like it,
I'm
especially like once college football's over. It's kind of nice to have Saturday
I just can't
football
keep
still.
things straight anymore.
I think it's tonight. I thought it was the 19th.
Okay, you'll probably beat me to it.
Let's Google this. There, Paul, and well, I've looked it up like 4 times. That's the only reason I'm going to beat you to it because I've got it almost bookmarked at this point. It's like I've looked at this several times.
Whatever the hell it is.
Friday, January 19th at 4 p.m. Hawaiian time doesn't help me there much.
That
was that 5 hours so I think it's 8 o'clock tonight.
8, I think.
Sometime this evening.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I'm not a big fan of because it's usually not very good football. These parade games, the All-American games, whatever.
However,
I kind of want to watch Dylan Raiola. I kind of want to watch Dylan Raiola. It feels like, there's certain years where the spring game doesn't mean that much to you, where you're like, I don't really need to watch this.
Oh, April 27 is marked.
Right? Like, this is the most excited I've been for a spring game probably since. I mean, I was very excited for the first Frost spring game, and it turned out to be a frostquake. But I was very excited for that one. I was very excited for Pelini's first spring game.
Yeah.
Not super excited for Mike Riley's, if I'm being honest. But outside of that, like, the spring game doesn't get a lot of run most times. There was one year under Bo. It was the year that Taylor Martinez ended up taking over, where people went to the spring game because they're like, we legitimately have no idea who the quarterback is going to be next year.
Yeah.
And then they rolled out Taylor Martinez, and people were like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's weird one-offs like that, but that's more of a curiosity. I am legitimately excited to watch Dylan Raiola throw a football while wearing a Nebraska helmet.
Yeah.
Even
it's crazy.
Yeah. Even if it's just, I mean, I know he's going to be wearing a green jersey. They're not going to let anybody touch him.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably not going to show anything at all because they don't want anything on tape.
No.
But I'm still going to be super excited about it.
Yeah. I'm just excited to feel some energy again, I think. Because
I thought you were going to say, I'm just excited to feel something.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. Because I think last year there was a good amount of energy for that game.
Yeah.
And as my first time going to those as a, an employed media member kind of thing, it was freezing, however. So it kind of took that away a little bit. I think there was some excitement to see some newness and a flash of some new energy, but it was freezing.
Yes.
Hopefully that changes this year, but also I think there's new additions that can, I don't know.
Also, if it's at this point, if it's 30 degrees for the spring game, we'll all be out there in shorts.
100%.
It won't be frost quaking all over us.
No.
TK says 8 p.m. tonight on NFL Network for
Okay.
the Polynesian Bowl. So we can tune in to our guy, Dylan Raiola,
Yeah.
and
The
try,
doctor.
try and feel something again, as Avery said. We've got Brian Burton to talk college basketball up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back. Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. Want to bring in now, our friend Brian Burton on the Warhorse Sportsbook Hotline. He is a college basketball analyst for ESPN and the Field of 68. Brian, how are you this morning?
I'm well. How are you guys doing, gentlemen?
We are doing well. Brian, I wanted to kind of start off big picture here with you in the world of college basketball this year. We've talked a lot about kind of as a college basketball community, the parity in college basketball this year. Is that a storyline you're buying, that there really are no great teams, just a bunch of really good teams?
Yeah, I think this is something that you'll see relatively consistently going forward in college basketball. I think we all know that the two bigger changes that have ever happened in our game of college basketball, which is the transfer portal being almost a way of free agency, if you will. The one-time transfer has now become the 2- and 3-time transfer, it sounds like. So kids are going to be able to leave on a regular to go to different schools. So I think that part, and then the NIL portion as well, just, kids wanting to be enticed to, possibly make money that can change their lives in some ways, the same way coaches do. So I think because of that, you have so much change, you have so much talent that is across the board, that is at levels that normally would not have been able to be at those certain levels. So I think parity is going to be a thing. And I think even though you have teams like Purdue and University of Houston, or people that have a lot of players back that are building around that continuity, I think that is a big formula to be great. But I think because of the variance of talent that is spread across college basketball, I think this is going to be a common thing going forward that you'll see in college basketball.
Brian, off the top of your head here, and I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot, like ballpark, how many teams do you think could win a national title this year?
Ooh, that's such a good question. I think that 10 or 15 range, even though that sounds like a lot, I think, there's always those teams that emerge. You think about UConn when they weren't necessarily a favorite team when they've done it twice now, where they kind of got hot in the Big East tournament. They're playing in such a battle-tested league that they get hot and then they make a run, and then next thing you know, they never look back. I think there's, even UConn, even last year, no one really expected for that to happen the way that it did. So I think that's one example. You think about the outliers that have almost done it. San Diego State last year, Florida Atlantic in the Final Four. You got the VCU story from a long time ago, and the Butler when Brad Stevens is there. So I think there's always going to be some outlier teams that just get hot because the tournament is that neutral floor. If you have three-point shooting, it definitely makes a difference in the tournament. If you have an elite defense, it definitely can make a difference. And if you have depth, and sometimes it's just a matchup. The tournament is not about the best team necessarily overall, because sometimes if you get a win and the other team upsets and you have a great matchup where you can be dominant, you just kind of get the momentum. And next thing you know, that momentum can be a really powerful tool to keep running. So I would say that 10 to 15 range, believe it or not. And I think that's kind of going to be a consistent thing until we have a dominant team. And I don't think we have a dominant team. We have some dominant players, but I don't think we have a dominant team in college basketball.
With that being said, has any team surprised you or caught your attention that you may see being a front runner in a team that could surprise people down the stretch?
Yeah, I think there's been some good surprises. I think Kentucky being a good team, I think they're leading the nation in scoring. Calipari's obviously done it before, and he has a young team, so those young players just continue to get better and better as it goes. So I think they're a team to keep an eye on. I think Purdue is, one of those teams that's not necessarily surprising, but they haven't had a tournament run to the liking that they have wanted. So I think, they may surprise people in the tournament to be able to make that run. I think Zach Edey is obviously a dominant player, and they kind of remind you a little bit of that Virginia team that experienced that UMBC and then came back and had the special run that they had. I think Seton Hall is a team they keep an eye on. No one's talking a lot about it. Shaheen Holloway obviously did it at St. Peter's. He's got the kind of edge as a coach and connection with his players, and they're leading the Big East. They've been a surprise team. Yeah, I like the Mountain West, even though they haven't had great tournament success either. I think another battle-tested league. And then I think the Big 12, I mean, you can just name any team in the Big 12. You think about Texas Tech years ago going all the way to play against Virginia. I think there's 8 teams that are ranked in the Big 12 right now, where it could potentially be 9 teams that are ranked at some point in time in the year in that league, and maybe even 10. So I think that league in general is one to watch because, again, when you have that kind of battle-testedness and you've kind of been through the ringer in your conference, when you get to see the teams in the NCAA tournament, you have a much more significant chance to have some success.
Because the area we're in, that conversation about best basketball conference kind of comes up a lot between the Big East, the Big 12, and the Big 10. Is it safe to say the Big 12 has been that dominant basketball conference for a while, or who has started to maybe rival that?
Yeah, I'm biased. I'm Big 12 country.
Yeah, yep.
I grew up.
Yep.
I grew up in Texas, so I grew up Big 12 country. And, I think that, and even my time in college coaching, most of my time was spent more in that region than any other region. But
Yeah.
I think, the Big 10 has had a success. There's no doubt, when you just look at the good teams. But I just think the top to bottom, I mean, again, you talk about 10 teams. There's been 9 teams so far in the Big 12 that have been ranked.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you count in Kansas State, if they can sneak in there, they can be another team. So I think that's definitely has been the consistent one. And then even when you look at the national championships, you got to give them their respect with Baylor, with Kansas, and then again, I talked about Texas Tech going. But I do think the SEC is a really good basketball league. As far as at the top, I think Big Ten has not had the tournament success that people would want because they've had the regular season success. So I think if you put all of it together, I think totality Big 12, but I do think the Big Ten, you guys are in Big Ten country, of course. So I would say it's right there close, but I don't think it's in the same exact category.
We're talking with Brian Burton, college basketball analyst for ESPN in the field of 68. Brian, on the other side of that coin, from teams that may be surprising to some this year, who have you seen that you had high expectations for that haven't quite lived up to those expectations about a little more than halfway through the season?
Yeah, I think there's been a few of these. I think those are the ones that you're just kind of scratching your head. Michigan State was ranked really high early. They haven't quite found their stride. So I would definitely have to put them in that category, unfortunately, even though I loved Izzo and I grew up in Michigan State. My dad went to school there. And then I would say, the USCs of the world have been disappointing. I think they're under 500 now. Texas has been in that category. They've been disappointing. They've been rated high early in the season. And you're kind of looking around of what are they going to do to follow up from last year. I think there's a handful of them like that, that have really been ranked high early on preseason. But then you get to the season and you're kind of looking around like, well, what happened? And I think that goes back to the parity. I think you want to base it on previous success. You want to base it on, but the transfer portal, I know it's such a common conversation piece, but it is such a big changing factor because teams are used to having so much continuity. And now the way you can acquire talent is so different than it ever has been before. So I think if you're really good at managing, putting together a team quickly, then that helps a ton. And if you're not used to that, or maybe there's some, you have that upside when you still add new players too. Whereas when you have sometimes the continuity, it doesn't always come back the way you want. And sometimes, I think managing the NIL part of it is the thing too, the locker room and who's getting what and how does that work and how are you able to, keep these young people focused. Unfortunately, Michigan's probably in that category too. They've been disappointing in how they played. I hate to pick on 2 Big Ten teams and 2 Big Ten teams, but those teams when they're good in college basketball, it's a fun thing for the entire nation. And obviously you see, even the Alabamas of the world, Arkansas, there's been some teams, and probably more Arkansas than Alabama, but yeah, there's just been some teams with their football team and their athletic department you're usually just seeing thrive, and now you're seeing them kind of being much more human, and you're kind of looking around like, it's like North Carolina last year a little bit. They went through that where they had a big-time season the year before. then they're preseason number one, then they don't make the tournament, and now North Carolina's playing back to some elite basketball. So I think the challenge is you see a lot of the greats and the Hall of Famers stepping away from the game, including now in football, Nick Saban. There's a reason for that. It's a lot harder to coach in this climate maybe than ever before if you came up in the old climate, because you got spoiled with the ways that you could be dominant, and now the game has just changed quite a bit.
We're talking with Brian Burton, ESPN college analyst, as well as the Field of 68. Brian, you mentioned some of the challenges with NIL. It was already challenging enough to, with playing time, and some guys are stars and some guys aren't stars. You coached for a long time. How would you manage just some of the personalities when you've got, in some situations, such an uneven distribution of NIL money and attention and things like that, where since there are actually dollar amounts attached to it now, it's really kind of emphasized that gap between the stars and the role players?
Yeah, it's really, really interesting because the coaches don't get to decide it. So, but you have to manage it. So in some ways, it's becoming a lot more like how pro sports is. It's not pro sports, but it's becoming that way because, again, the coaches don't get to decide how much you're, allotted as far as your NIL. And then players don't always know what the other players are getting. Although the locker room talks, there's not this exact number like there is that says, hey, you get this, you get that. You have an understanding, you have a feel, but I think it's extremely challenging to manage. And I think, this day and age, your ability to connect with people, your ability to motivate, your ability to understand young players why, and young players to get them to, again, coaches call it buy-in a lot, but that's, the buy-in or the believe in or the trust that can be built is the most differentiating factor in coaching these days, because it's really not about the X's and O's near as much, although that always is going to play a factor. It's about the culture that you can have. It's about, again, that collective belief that you're able to generate. And I think some coaches are doing a more intentional job to identify players that are not as caught up in that in the recruiting process, and kind of have a little more hunger that maybe you don't have to go get and pay as much, so to speak, so that you can have their attention and you can have their buy-in a little easier and have that kind of chip on their shoulder. So I think that's one part of it. I think at the mid-major level, a lot of mid-majors are getting pretty smart in the fact that they're using their resources to retain the great players, right? You think about a Tyler Perry that was at Conference USA Player of the Year at North Texas. They almost lost him the year before, but they put so much money into or energy into retaining him instead of trying to go get the next player. Well, then they lead him to an NIT championship and he gets Player of the Year. And then the next year you probably can't keep him, but that's okay. You know the shelf life to keep a great player at a mid-major is shorter, but you want to keep them for that one more year versus trying to go get the new guy from a new school that is going to be adjusting to your system that may not be quite the same fit. So it's challenging. Again, I think that's why a lot of coaches are trying to get out, and you see a lot more younger coaches moving up the ranks. You see kind of coaches that have been at the Division II or junior college level that are used to piecing together rosters. So it's an interesting time, but a cool time in college basketball.
Yeah, because we're up in Nebraska, we do have to ask the question about the Huskers. We've seen the ups and downs of their season already, beating a Purdue, but then having, a tough loss at Rutgers the other day. Where do you see maybe the potential for this team? I know the fan base is hungry for an NCAA tournament appearance here soon, and the culture seems like it's there, but it's more or less the consistency that tends to be that question mark a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they can't play all their games at home, right?
Yeah, right.
The way that they play at home, they are one team. They are not the same team quite on the road. But yeah, I like the upside of the team. I think, again, you're playing in the Big Ten, so that gives you some confidence that if you can finish in the upper half, that you have a chance to make the tournament. They've proven that they can play against the best. They need a few more home games, but yeah, their ability to play at home, again, I think they can make enough shots. They have a great home crowd. You have to give Nebraska credit the way they show up for volleyball and basketball and football. I mean, just the following, it's like having a whole nother player or two possibly. So I do think if they can continue to protect home the way they have, I think they're 11-1 at home. If they can continue to protect home the way they have, and just steal a few road games, have a few road splits, the Big Ten is not as strong. I mean, you really have 3 outlier teams that are in the top 25. Outside of that, it's really just a wide open game. I don't know that there's anyone that has proven that they're significantly consistent. So Nebraska's just in a pool with everyone else in that top 3. And if you can get a couple more quality wins against an Illinois and Wisconsin along the way too, that only helps you. So I think there's a chance. I don't think the Big Ten is quite as strong. I think they definitely have a chance. They got to keep dominating at home and steal a few on the road.
Brian, you mentioned Nebraska with just the one home loss. That one home loss was to their in-state rival, Creighton. You've seen this Creighton team, made the Elite Eight last year, just about a play away from making the Final Four, had high expectations again this year, and have looked like that team at times. However, you see them the other day against UConn, and there seems to be kind of a different level there that they're not quite at this point in the season. So far from what you've seen with Creighton, where do you think their ceiling is this year?
Yeah, I think there's they need another player to emerge. To me, it's kind of like Nebraska playing it on the road needs to be kind of their emergence. You know, for Creighton, I think they have probably 4 really good players in their lineup. I think the 5th player is kind of an out. They just don't know. It's an unknown to get a consistent 5th player in that kind of lineup. And I think the way they shoot the ball is it's too important to them being great. And again, that UConn game, you know, they're 23% from 3 and really didn't do as well as, you know, a typical Creighton team can do from 3. And I don't think they're as good in the paint, you know, consistently. So they got to figure out, again, a 5th player to really step in and help them. I think Trey Alexander is terrific as far as what he can do for their team. They don't have a lot of playmaking outside of him, though, so it makes it a lot of pressure to kind of have a system rather than being able to have a few players that can make some plays outside of the system. So I do think UConn is a dominant team, so I think them playing against them was great for them to kind of see, okay, like, we're good, but we gotta push for more to be great. But I just think, yeah, finding a consistent 5th and 6th player in the rotation to really emerge, and then I think, yeah, their 3-point shooting is going to be something that they like to do, and they need to be able to do it at a higher level along with being able to get to the free throw line and kind of balance out their attacks that are not so kind of singular dimensional.
All right, Brian, before we get you out of here, I want to ask you, what is your least popular college basketball take this year that you firmly believe?
My least popular. You know, we focus a lot on the mid-major level, and so I think the least popular is probably anything around some of these mid-majors, either getting that large bid, which seems much harder now than it was. Princeton and GCU are the ones that have the biggest chance at this point because they get a chance to be pretty dominant in their league. I think GCU, they still have one loss, if I'm not mistaken, and they can run the table. Their league is, like any league, it's hard to do that. Princeton's in a similar boat. Both their net rankings are pretty high. So we're advocating for mid-majors to get a little more love. So I think anything that talks about a mid-major having a chance to either get an at-large bid or play in the second weekend is probably the most unpopular take because most people just like to talk about, you know, the Power 6 or 7 conferences.
Brian, I will say, I think we're on the same page here because I firmly believe that a 23 or 24 win mid-major team should get the nod as an at-large over like an 18, 19, 20 win major conference team because the major conference team has already shown us what they can do, right? Like we didn't, you know, I go back to the Trae Young Oklahoma team that was on 18 and 14 or something, right? It's like they had every opportunity to win their way in. They didn't do it. Why should we give them another opportunity? So I think I'm on the same page with you there with the mid-majors.
Yeah, I mean, I think you think of a team like, you know, you go back to GCU. Stanford just had a huge win against Western Carolina. They're probably not an at-large team. They only have 2 losses, but they've won 16 games in a row. GCU's won 14 games in a row. I mean, when you get a chance to win 25, 26, 27 games and you don't get to see these teams in the tournament, I just think that's the unfortunate part about the tournament is that, you know, it's money-driven. We all know it. It's a business, so it's hard in those last spots, those at-large spots to give, mid-majors as much because of different financial reasons or agendas that may be behind it. But, man, as a college basketball fan, I think we all love to see how those teams can match up when they're on a neutral floor. And those are some of the best stories every year in the tournament. Everyone loves the Cinderella story, the St. Peter's, what was the team with Tobin Anderson last year? I know he's at Iona now. I'm drawing a blank on the team he was at. But, yeah, all these teams that are able to make these magical runs, I think even San Diego State making it to the title game, FAU making it to the Final Four. Everyone wants to see these teams have a chance. And I think with the transfer portal and the way that college basketball is now, you're going to see more upsets than you've ever seen potentially because there is more talent across the board. You're going to see, again, Purdue loosen the way that they did. You're going to see these things happen much more often than you ever have. So I'm rooting for the mid-majors. I coached a lot of my career at that level, and I think it's a special level when you can have great teams at that level. So, yeah, I'm excited to see. I would say those are probably my most unpopular takes. I'll stick with that. I'll put my stake in the ground with it.
Well, Brian, I'm right there with you. I grew up watching Creighton in the Missouri Valley, so I'm all about those mid-majors. Brian,
shout out to Omaha. They're doing well in conference play. They're getting it going. Coach Crutchfield is in year 2 and getting a little bit of momentum, 3-2 in conference, and they're 8-1 at home. So I like what I see them doing. And Coach Crutch is an outstanding human too, so I'm glad to see them kind of getting some things going.
Brian Burton, ESPN college analyst, as well as the Field of 68. Brian, we appreciate your time. It was great talking to you, and hopefully we'll catch up again soon.
Yeah, look forward to it. Thanks so much, and enjoy conference play.
All righty, you too. That's Brian Burton. He is a college basketball analyst for the Field of 68, as well as ESPN college basketball. He does a bunch of games, as he mentioned, a lot of mid-major games for ESPN's coverage. So really appreciate Brian Burton with his time. He's coached everywhere. He was a Division I assistant for 15 years. Also coached some JUCO, which, by the way, I think JUCO is the hardest level to coach at.
Yeah,
because you're and you see it now a little bit with Division I, where you're kind of like rebuilding your roster every year to a certain extent.
Yeah,
but just because of the nature of junior college sports, you're literally rebuilding your roster every single year.
Right.
And the people that can win consistently at junior colleges blow my mind. I don't understand it at all.
Yeah, across all levels. And you don't really have many guidelines.
No, it's kind of the Wild West.
It is. They tell kids, if you're going to go JUCO, it's going to toughen you up.
Be ready for
guidelines.
It.
Yeah.
I used to recruit kids at the NAI level, and a lot of our competition were junior colleges, and a lot of times they're selling you a dream, right? Like, hey, you go JUCO, then you could go D1 or whatever. And a lot of kids want that dream, right? But what they don't tell them a lot of times is, hey, we're also recruiting 40 kids this year.
Yep.
So you're going to come in and you're like, if you don't make an impression in the first week, good luck.
Yeah, see ya.
We may not remember your name.
Yeah, these baseball rosters from COVID years in JUCO,
crazy.
65 kids.
I've seen literally 40 kids on a basketball roster in It blows my mind. It's one of the hardest jobs in all of coaching.
Kudos to y'all.
Yeah, I could not do it.
Yeah.
Coming up next, we're about halfway through the show. More Hurrdat Sports Radio on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back.
There's a lot of stuff to think about, but it comes down to what you do in 3.5 hours.
We're radio.
You prepare up the film that you have, but man, just keep telling our guys, no matter what. I mean, we clinched the 1 seed, it feels like 100 days ago. But and you got all this time, and everyone wants to talk about all this stuff that leads up to it. And there's a lot of stuff to think about, but it comes down to what you do in 3.5 hours.
We have established a championship program. It's just not a real championship yet. We know how to win. We know how to train to win. We have the right people, but we have not crossed the threshold of winning playoffs.
We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're halfway through the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube on the video stream as well. Really appreciate Brian Burton joining us in that last segment. Really good stuff there. So hopefully we'll talk to Brian again soon, get some more college basketball insight from him. But we are just a few days away now from the Omaha Supernovas.
Oh, yeah.
January 24th, first ever match for the Pro Volleyball Federation.
Yeah.
Your Omaha Supernovas will hit the court against the Atlanta Vibe, 7 p.m. at the CHI Health Center. And by Wednesday next week, it's supposed to be reasonably warm. So you don't have to worry about freezing and 20-degree temperatures, or negative 20-degree temperatures, trying to walk to the arena from your parking spot. It's going to feel like the 70s, basically, by the time we get there. But make sure you go to supernovas.com.
I'll take
Get your season and single match tickets at supernovas.com so you can see world-class talent. We talked to Sydney Hilly yesterday. She's Wisconsin, even though she's from Wisconsin. We still love her.
Yeah.
Now she's on the right side of the border with Omaha Supernovas. But you've got national champions like Sydney, All-Americans like Sydney. You've got Olympians like Sydney. Well, she's not an Olympian yet, but she was on the national team last year. Just join the movement, the volleyball movement, sweeping across the country, and see your Major League Volleyball team, the Omaha Supernovas. Again, supernovas.com for tickets and all the information. Got schedule, roster, all the stuff on supernovas.com. Whatever you need to know about the Omaha Supernovas. That's January 24th, 7 p.m.
Yeah, single game tickets are not crazy either. You can get $22 tickets. I mean, you've been in CHI, great seats. Oh, yeah. Really anywhere. Absolutely. So you're going to have a great view. The new court looks fantastic. It looks really exciting. It's a big deal, and we're really excited that we get to be a part of it and experience it. And so the fact that the first pro volleyball game is happening in the state of Nebraska, no real surprises there, I don't think.
Very appropriate.
Very appropriate. But I know we want to send a message to the rest of, the league that this is the epicenter. So, yeah, it's going to be really exciting. A lot of fun stuff going on. So, yeah, the roster is incredible, and
absolutely
pro sports are here.
Yeah, it's exciting to have just professional sports in Nebraska. Yeah. It's not something that we have a lot of. Obviously, we've got Union Omaha. Yep. We've got obviously the Storm Chasers as well. We love our friends over at Werner Park. We talk to Marty all the time. Mm-hmm. But having, this is a sport that so many people in Nebraska already care about. To translate that to the professional level is a big deal. So we're super excited for that coming up in just a few days here. It
is crazy.
Creeping up on us a little bit.
Yeah, we were at the 100-day market yesterday, and here we are. So
I know it feels like it was okay. We're months away. We're okay. We got tons of time, and all of a sudden, boom, just a few days away. So make sure you check out supernovas.com. Get your tickets. Yeah. Let's whether you can go on Wednesday or you got to wait till another game. Just get out to an Omaha Supernovas match because it's going to be a good time. Mm-hmm.
Certainly it's warming up here in the second half.
What is not really a good time is pretty much anything involving Deion Sanders at this point.
Oh,
like I'm sorry. So I was scrolling Twitter during the break, and
I was looking at our lineup. I'm like, oh
no,
NFL. Nope, Deion.
Deion was not on the line. I was scrolling Twitter, so I'm throwing a curveball at you here.
That's okay.
So
I think I know where we're headed.
He has been saying that he's had to call other head coaches.
Oh, okay.
Because recruits have been recording those head coaches talking bad about Colorado.
Oh, I did not know this is where we're headed.
I didn't either until I was scrolling through Twitter, and I'm just like, what is happening here? Because first of all, let me just say, I don't believe him. I'm calling BS.
So he's saying that recruits that have also gone to Colorado have also been taking other visits, and they're recording the conversations about Deion.
Yes.
Interesting.
So other coaches are negatively recruiting against Deion.
Yeah.
Which is super common, by the way. Yeah. That's part of you negatively recruit. That's not a huge deal. And let's be honest with Deion, there's plenty to negatively recruit against. Yeah. It's not like that. You're not like a real stretch there. It's not even you have to lie to negatively recruit against Deion because he's run off his entire team like twice now. So, maybe that would, I don't even know if that's negative recruiting. It's just accurately reporting transfer numbers.
Yeah. I'm curious what that looks like because I can imagine if I was like with a head coach, like whether it's an office environment or you're at a restaurant or whatever, and like the conversation of Deion comes up, it'd be really awkward to be like,
that's why I don't believe him.
Put the phone, like you can do the voice memo thing or the record thing, but like if I was, unless I had been really comfortable with this coach or like I'm going on visits all the time and I like
just don't care anymore.
Don't care. I don't know. But to take the phone out during a conversation and like put that down or try to record seems kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's part of the
unless it was like a group address, which would also be very weird if a coach was addressing like a group of recruits saying like
talking smack on Deion.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things I don't believe here. You touched on one of them.
Yeah.
I don't believe recruits are just whipping their phones out and being like, "Hey, can you say that again?" I mean, are they recording the entire thing?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Well, they would have to be. It'd have to be, wouldn't it be intentional? Like you started recording before you even
That's kind of what I'm saying. Unless they like got halfway through and was like, oh, I should, but it'd be weird that there was multiple of them doing it.
Yes. Like that's,
oh yeah, you got a video too. Like let's all show Coach Prime. I don't know.
That sounds not super plausible to me.
I'm trying
not
to think
impossible.
Of, like, the actual steps I would have to go into.
Unless
that's a bunch of BS.
This is the only thing I can think of is like, hey, do you mind if I record this so like I can listen back to the stuff you're saying to me? Like I just like maybe.
Yeah.
But you're telling me multiple recruits are doing that?
I also don't know if a coach would
say okay to that.
Say okay, let me slander this man while I know you're recording me.
Right. So
they're recording Deion, right?
No, they're not recording Deion.
They're recording
other coaches talking about Deion.
talking about Deion apparently, and then showing Deion when they go to their visits at Colorado or whatever.
I don't know. Sounds like a social media thing.
What does the rest of it say?
So,
is there more to it?
Yes, there is. So first of all, I find that implausible.
Okay.
But whatever. Secondly, he's saying he is then calling out these head coaches, like physically making a phone call to them and saying basically, hey, keep my name out your mouth. Like he's doing the Will Smith, except, he's keep my name out your mouth, which I believe he would make that phone call.
Probably.
But he also says, he doesn't phrase it. He says it as he's had to call those coaches. Guess what? You don't have to call those coaches.
Yeah.
Even if it's all true, which I don't believe.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to call those coaches.
Tell me the coaches. I want to know.
Yeah. It's like, give me a list.
Yeah.
Because right now it sounds like Deion just like being like blustering things up and like not. Because first of all, the stuff that Deion takes as a slight versus what any normal human being takes as a slight is not the same thing. We saw it when Nebraska played Colorado, right?
Yeah.
They thought Matt Rule was just straight slandering people.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm sorry, what did he say?
Yeah. Remember how before the break I mentioned how I was watching like the Coach Prime thing on Prime just because I watched it before the last season because it was about Jacksonville State. And I had mentioned that I didn't really grow up in the Deion Sanders era. So I wanted to like grasp the hype before Nebraska went to Colorado and like I was going to be there. And I knew the rest of the country was, excited about it. But I'm like, if I'm going to be in his presence, I want to understand like where the coaching trail and the player hype. So anyway, I got kind of hooked into it just because I love like a behind the scenes documentary. I'm a Last Chance U junkie. Yeah. Like I watch them all, keep you on all of them. So I was excited to see a second season come out because I was like, that's cool. It'll feature like Nebraska's game. I want to see the behind the scenes of what actually happened. And I mentioned to you, I said, the Nebraska one comes out next week and I'm really excited. Well, as you know, now I have watched it. It does not touch on anything Nebraska. And it moved like right past that game. Actually, okay, it talked about how it was a home game. So they give the hype at that first home game. And that was exciting. Like it was cool. I told my parents it made me like feel something again about what it was like being in that game. Like I remember the energy. It was a 10 o'clock game and like it was awesome. Yeah. Like if you love college football, this atmosphere, Colorado or not, it was fantastic. Like you're like, this is what it's about. But afterwards, there was so much discussion about like how the handshake went. Shedeur talking about Coach Rule, all these things, right? Every other episode in this series so far has shown all the inside the locker room discussion. It's personal. That none of it was featured about the Nebraska weekend at all. Like nothing. They didn't show Shedeur's post-game conference, none of it, but they moved right to the Colorado State one. So I was like, okay, in my eyes, I take that as because Prime is a partial producer. He gets the final cut. I assume he was like, I let's keep that one.
Yeah, because it was all made up.
Yeah. And at least that's how, like, obviously Shedeur said what he said. Matt Rule had his response. They could have included all of that because in the next one, the one with Oregon and the one with Colorado State, they include the other coaches' pregame speeches. They include what was said afterwards. Nebraska, game was over and it was done. They showed that Coach Prime actually got really emotional after the home game because he was like proud of like the crowd and like that the team won at home.
Yeah.
But there was nothing else Nebraska.
Yeah, because Rule didn't actually say anything.
Yeah.
So that's why, I don't believe.
Yeah.
I don't believe this. It might just be like, hey, be careful going to Colorado. He might make you transfer out, which is true, by the way. That's an accurate description. And also, you don't actually have to call these people, even if it is true, Prime.
Yeah.
Like, you're spending a lot of energy on stuff that does not matter.
Yeah.
And I also don't believe it. I think he's lying. I just don't think it's true.
I guess we'll find out.
Maybe next year on season 3.
I just want to see if these coaches are like, yeah, he called me.
I want Rule to come out and be like, yeah, he called me.
He called me.
Cynthia Frelund from the NFL Network coming up next.
Clear.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
And prepare off the film that you have, but man, just keep telling our guys, no matter what. I mean, we clinched the 1 seed. It feels like 100 days ago. And you got all this time, and everyone wants to talk about all this stuff that leads up to it. And there's a lot of stuff to think about, but it comes down to what you do in 3.5 hours.
Wrapping up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I'm Ravi Lulla, Avery Howard here with me. We are joined now by Cynthia Frelund from the NFL Network on the Warhorse Sportsbook Hotline. Cynthia, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you? Happy Divisional weekend, the best weekend in the NFL.
Well, happy Divisional weekend to you as well. You are particularly going to enjoy it this week because your Detroit Lions are still alive.
I mean, listen, it's been 32 years.
Yeah.
I don't even really have any memories of the last time they won a home playoff game. So it's pretty special. I've been getting lots of, texts and calls from everyone. And it's just ironic because the last time they won, you couldn't have text messaged anyone because there was no iPhone. So it's pretty amazing.
You could have sent somebody a fax. That probably would have been the quickest way. Is it kind of weird as a diehard Lions fan to sort of see, because I find myself kind of rallying. I'm a 49ers fan, but I kind of am enjoying the Lions having their moment. Is it sort of weird to see it seems like a lot of people in the football world be like, yeah, the Lions.
I think everyone loves, as a human, you can relate to this story of struggle and finally getting past some sort of roadblock that has impeded you for the longest sports drought in the NFL.
Yeah.
So I think that's just a relatable loving story, right? And it's hard not to fall in love with the passion and authenticity that Dan Campbell brings to it. So I don't really think you have to necessarily be a Lions fan or whatever to relate to that story, just because it's such a human story to begin with. So, I mean, I think a lot of that is part of it. I think it's really easy to, like this Jared Goff overcoming, sort of being shipped out by this juggernaut of a team that went on to win the Super Bowl the next season. Like, there's just so many narratives there that kind of relate to everyone's life. So, and by the way, Detroit as a city, still recovering from 2008. So,
yeah.
Just like a lot of interesting things going on all at once.
You mentioned Dan Campbell, and I kind of want to stay right there. What is it about him that has just really uplifted this team, this city, the belief in the Lions? He's really, like we just said, there's a lot of positive emotions towards the Lions, and I think it has to do with Coach Campbell himself.
Yeah, we often see these coaches who, I think, obviously coach needs to inspire people, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't always feel as authentic for whatever reason. Like when I see Dan Campbell, that like near tear, choked up, like that's his whole heart, right? You don't question whether he's kind of putting on a show to rally the troops or whatever. Like you're like, yeah, no, that man's gonna go home and like it's gonna be like I want to go have a beer with him. Really like it's just, and we love authenticity. Like I think again, we love it when someone feels like they actually love something and they care. It's a really nice feeling, especially after a bunch of hard years, right, with the pandemic and all these things, and Detroit being 3-13 3 seasons ago. So, working through some hard stuff and keeping that like I asked Jared Goff, I was like, does he ever not say anything? He's like, no, all the time, 100%. Like that is exactly what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
We're talking with Cynthia Frelund from the NFL Network. Let's talk about the actual game on the field for the Lions. They're 6.5-point favorites against the Buccaneers. Have you kind of allowed yourself to think about, hey, there's like a pretty good chance the Lions are going to be in the NFC Championship game?
Well, the good news is I wrote all my code. Obviously Lions were bad when I started writing my code. So it's all it's very blind. Like every year I use different fake names for it. Like sometimes it's colors and other times it's, types of beer, whatever, just silly stuff to so I don't feel any way about something. Right. So luckily I do all the math before I get my heart involved. I do have just a 4-point win for the Lions this week. So it's a little bit more of a nail biter than maybe Lions fans would like, but it's crazy. I did Super Bowl odds too. And never have I ever seen the Lions odds be double digit, let alone, 30% to make the Super Bowl, not to win, but to make the Super Bowl, that's really special. Like even if, just to get here and maybe a little bit ahead of schedule in terms of, what the plan for Brad Holmes and Coach Campbell were.
Let's stick with the NFC here for just a second, Cynthia. Obviously, the 49ers, the favorite in that conference. The Cowboys and Eagles were viewed as their primary challengers, both out in the wild card round. What are your odds telling you about the 49ers, and what are your eyes telling you about the 49ers?
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing about the 49ers is that we find like they embody this trend that was actually an entire league-wide trend, which is that off-ball linebackers matter, which, every year the pendulum swings back and forth as to like which offensive metrics matter, which defensive. And this year, like Fred Warner's impact is so outsized because people are trying to use those over the middle throws, the types of runs. Like they're basically just showing us all of the trends and not just showing us like clobbering all of their opponents with every single offensive and defensive trend that seems to matter. So, they're just kind of like the gold standard. No pun intended. Actually, pun intended.
That's an outstanding pun. Well done.
We're going for it. But they're like the gold standard in terms of what you should be doing and how you should be executing it, from offensive line play to, even ISO. Like, I think of ISO and like think of my high school football, we're running straight through that A gap, and like that's working this year. And they're showing us that, which is amazing because every year things change. And it just seems like Kyle Shanahan's like, I'm going to be in 2025 and the rest of you can stay here in 2024.
Well, speaking of Kyle Shanahan and his system, I know a lot of people have talked about Brock Purdy as maybe a system quarterback, or he's got all these weapons or whatever. Amy Trask, I think it was yesterday, said, hey, there's 7 terrific quarterbacks left in the playoffs, and then Brock Purdy. When you're viewing both Brock Purdy just kind of in a vacuum and then in the context of who's left as quarterbacks in the playoffs, how do you evaluate him? Because I thought that was a wild take by Amy, and I'm curious how you feel about it.
I didn't hear that. Interesting to me, it's like, first of all, I would say, I don't know who isn't a system quarterback. Tom Brady's a system quarterback.
Yeah.
You know, like CJ Stroud, he's a system quarterback. Like I think that's like a silly thing because look no further than Jared Goff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You put him in a system where now he has the best passer rating and the highest completion percentage using play action.
Mm-hmm.
So come on, like he's a system quarterback too then, I guess, right? So whatever. But I think Brock, he understands the assignment and he's growing. Do I think that if I were to plop him on let's just go with a team with a battle line, like if I were to plop him at the Panthers, is he going to bring them to a Super Bowl? No. But do I think that about any of the other quarterbacks either? No. Maybe a Tom Brady because he could coach up the rest of the team, but I don't know about that. So I think Brock, it's more about like you get the chance to be on the team you're on. And, you know, you saw the difference when his arm wasn't working last year in the NFC Championship game. So I think he's done an exceptional job this season. And I think to me, it's like, got to keep it going. Like as soon as you start seeing different defensive looks, how he responds is great. And he's not going to throw 4 interceptions against anyone again. Like, they're also weird interceptions if you go back and watch them.
Yeah.
Like some unlucky stuff with like a bounce off of a hand, like silly stuff that like you can't plan for.
Want to touch on the 2 other playoff games we haven't mentioned as well, just to hear your thoughts and your odds on the 2 others. We can start with the Texans and the Ravens.
Yeah. Ravens defense. See, the matchup that obviously we want to see is what happens with the Niners and the Ravens. Because like everyone would, you know, those are 2 best teams right now in football. So like, and both of them have some really interesting, like, you know, the Ravens are a Norv Turner like offense, which is hilarious. It's like Norv versus Shanahan. Everything changed and everything stays the same. But it's so interesting. But you know, like the reality is CJ Stroud has been sort of bucking a bunch of trends. They've been getting him, but this is, to me, it's kind of like, it's a little bit like, you know, it's a little of a riskier offense. They don't have a super stable run game. Sure, Devin Singletary in the past 2 games has come on really strong, but throughout the course of the season, it has not been their strongest point. Their run defense, however, is exceptional. Their run defense has been absolutely keeping them in everything and allowing them to win games. But I'm just curious to see how this works against Lamar Jackson, because if you're looking at the Texans defense, the one stat that really stands out to me is how many yards per attempt they allow to play action passes, which is 10.5, which is the most in the league by like, you know, at least a half a yard on average. And that's just attempts. So it's just going to be hard to defend the multiple ways that the Ravens can attack you.
Yeah, and then we touch on the Chiefs Bills, and this is the first time in I think ever for Patrick Mahomes to be in a divisional on the road. How much does that maybe did it or did it not change your odds, and just kind of what do you see maybe panning out there?
Well, it would be nice to have done the odds with this with the full, like I would have preferred, and it's not a bias thing. I just like having the best players on the field.
Yeah,
the Bills linebacker depletion is a really big problem. I mean, the fact that like they could be calling people up from the practice squad to start, that's an issue when you've got Travis Kelce on the other side, right?
Yeah.
So it changed. It's less about they both play outside in the cold. They both, you know, they're. It's not like Miami coming to Kansas City, right? Like very different thing, and we all know. But at the end of the day, it's hard to know what it would have been had they been a little bit more at full staff there on that defense, but it's going to be a close one either way. And depending on the injury report, for me, this is as close as they come. Nothing's more than 52%. I tried to guess at what the injury report will be, but to me, it's like 24-23 if the Bills get favorable news, and like 25-22 or 25-23 if the Bills don't get, and that's obviously in favor of the Chiefs. So it's about as close as they come. So this is one where I would just look for, if I want looking for something, quarterback rushing numbers. I think both of them are going to scramble quite a bit.
Yeah.
Ooh, there we go. Cynthia Frelund from the NFL Network. Cynthia, we're still going to have you on to nerd out on NFL draft talk here at some point. But we appreciate.
And that's what the draft is.
Oh yeah.
There we go. It all comes back to Michigan.
It all comes back to Detroit. Cynthia,
That's where we started in this interview, you know?
Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, guys. Have a great one.
That's Cynthia Frelund from the NFL Network. Mike Sautter from Hurrdat Sports coming up next.
Oh, no.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Mike Sautter.
Yeah.
Mike Sautter.
Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot.
Mike Sautter.
Kicking off hour number three. Kicking off hour number three here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, and KFOR in Lincoln. We are joined now. I'm Ravi Lulla, Avarie Howard. We're joined now by Mike Sautter from Hurrdat Sports, our senior basketball analyst, which is a title that he picked out himself.
That's not true.
100% true.
He actually
is not
advocated for it dramatically. They were like,
we
hey,
talked about it, yeah, but I didn't.
He was just like, hey, can I just,
we agreed on.
We're like, hey, can we just call you our
happened,
basketball coverage guy?
That's
and he's
totally
like, no.
In a perfect world, what would Mike Sauter's title be then? Mike Sautter.
I don't know. It's a great question.
Oh.
Chief basketball
The
analyst.
person?
Chief.
That is a title that he advocated for and was adamant about.
I so wish I could cuss right now.
I think he threatened to quit if he didn't get that
That's
title.
not
So,
true either.
We had to cave to his
lying.
outlandish demands,
The
and here we
basketball
are.
guy.
The person.
Sautter, how are you this
I
morning?
do. Well, snow blowed driveway
This morning?
and a half. My neighbor did hers for her a little bit. And yeah, this morning.
What a nice guy you are.
Mine, half of my neighbors, took my kid to school, showered, everything. Got a lot done already this morning.
What time do you wake up usually?
Usually
Yeah.
7:30,
What was it today?
6:30.
Oh.
Okay.
And I got home about 11:45 from McCool Junction.
How was that drive home?
Not great.
Did you get caught in the squall?
I got caught in the squall on the way there. I actually stopped at the Gretna exit. That's
Okay.
how much I was like, whoa, this is probably not okay.
How much further is McCool Junction from Gretna? I have no frame of reference for where.
Well,
McCool
Gretna is
Junction
basically Omaha.
Yeah, I'm
so
aware.
McCool Junction is south of York, hour and a half away.
Okay, so
from
you
Omaha.
stopped early,
Yeah,
right away, basically.
almost turned around and went up, but I didn't.
Probably should have.
Probably would have been a good idea when you're driving 25 through Lincoln on the interstate.
Not great.
Wasn't great.
Not great.
Yeah, we made it though. It was good.
The chief basketball analyst doesn't get like a police escort. That's
No,
not part
I
of the,
was.
that's not-
Shut up. I was being very
Were you being cautious?
cautious. Yeah, I was being
Good.
I was being a
Responsible?
good person.
Good.
Yeah.
How was McCool Junction last night?
I've never been there before. It was the first time I'd been there. No cell service, so they gave me the
Wi-Fi password?
the actual password, not the guest Wi-Fi,
Yeah,
but
like the teacher password.
yeah, the teacher
Yeah,
one,
the good one.
the
That's
admin,
The teacher guy.
That's the good Wi-Fi.
the admin one. So I got that one. It was good. Didn't get any visual stuff because it wasn't happening last night. The lights were it was really rough.
A little rough
I
out there.
tried.
You did your best.
It
Who
was
won the
tough.
game?
Osceola beat McCool Junction last night in a top 10 Class D2 battle. They
Okay.
won my Pinnacle Bank Game of the Week. Actually, it beat Millard North and Elkhorn North, which is tomorrow night.
Are you gonna go to that
by
one
like
anyway?
by like 3,000 votes? It beat it. I'm talking like over 8,000 versus over 5,000, and that doesn't count the other two games. We're at over 14,000 votes this week.
feel like
It's a lot.
People spam your polls sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just sit there and tap the button.
Yeah.
But you can definitely go back to the link and keep voting. So
Okay. So you think maybe some people are taking
You
advantage of the
think?
system there?
you think?
All of Osceola and all
I was
of
gonna say I don't think there's 8,000.
No,
people
no,
in
no,
those
no,
two
no, no.
communities combined.
There's 1,100 total.
Yeah.
combined.
We literally looked it up yesterday,
Yeah.
actually.
I was
Now that you
like-
say
so
that.
8 times more than
Yeah.
the people that live in those two communities
Mhm.
voted for that to be your game.
That's
of the week.
fine.
I also think
They wanted me there. It's okay.
I think people
That's
that
awesome.
might troll you a little bit and try and make you drive the furthest
Yeah,
possible.
that's probably like 20 people. Because I know like the 20 people that I think I have a good idea of like
few enemies.
people always
21.
joke. People always joke about it, like, "Oh, I voted for you." I'm like, okay, like your 5 votes doesn't really, at the end of the day, it doesn't really do anything. So go for it. I wouldn't listen. I wouldn't. I'm the one that picks the 4 games as the option
Yes.
for the game of the
Yeah.
week. I wouldn't put them up if I wasn't comfortable actually going to it.
Sure. Yeah. No, I get it.
So yeah,
Well,
there's a lot of good games.
We're glad
this
you
weekend.
made it home safe. Before we move on to some of the other games this weekend for high school, I want to circle back to Nebraska real quick
Oof.
because
We'll
you're
circle back.
our Nebraska ball guy as well.
Yeah,
As you
Juwan
know,
Gary might be okay.
yeah. So what do we know there? Do we,
We
know
don't.
anything?
We don't know
We
anything.
have
No one
some
knows
Twitter emojis. That's
I think the smirk versus the sad face
Yeah,
was
I-
was a small.
maybe-
I
positive.
was a little confused by the prayer hands.
maybe
though. I
it's like
was-
a
I'm good, thanks to the prayers.
yeah,
maybe
or
it's
like
like
I
a
pray I'm okay.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know.
sprained foot. is probably the best.
I don't know. The smirk threw me for a loop.
Yeah, or maybe it's like, hey, I'm out for the year, but I don't need surgery or something. I don't know. Like we'll find out today. There's a media availability at 1:20 or something, and I'll be in Lincoln for that, and then come home and go back to Lincoln later tonight. But it is. It's huge if he is able to play.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
Not just tomorrow against
Northwestern. No, but I mean long term and not being out for the remainder of the season.
Definitely 2018 vibes if he's out. So yeah, they haven't played very well.
No, they haven't.
Let me tell you, Rutgers is not good.
On the road has been the struggle.
Yeah, I mean it is just in the league. I think it's Wednesday night. 11-32 is the Big Ten right now on the road.
Wow.
So
good. They're in good company at least.
You're not winning on the road. There's this thing now that people, I guess, have really talked too much about how in college basketball, just in league winning on the road is just so hard. Well, yeah, it's been that way forever.
Mm-hmm.
But that is totally a game that Nebraska should have won. No question about it.
Mm-hmm.
They let it. I don't even know if let it slip. That's being nice. Inexcusable is a word I wrote. It's probably an inexcusable offensive performance. When you finish two halves with, the first half was 6-34-24 without a field goal. Yeah. And then the second half was 9.5 minutes without a field goal. Plus overtime, it was a total of 12 minutes and change without a field goal against Rutgers, who came in to the game on Wednesday as the worst team in the league. They were 1-4, and Rutgers is tough. The Rack or whatever, Jersey Mike's place, whatever it is now, but it'll forever be known as the Rack, is a very difficult place to play. That doesn't excuse what happened. Yeah. If the game was, close, when I say close, if it was like a 2-point game back and forth the whole game, different conversation.
Yes. Yeah.
Totally different conversation. We're talking blew a 12-point lead in the first half is 27-15. You had a chance to to just say, boom, game over.
Close the door.
Like run it up to 20, 18, whatever, and they're not coming back. Same thing happened the beginning of the second half. They were up by 12 and looked like they had a chance to hammer the door shut, and Rutgers basically said, no, this is our house. Give me the remote back to the TV. Get off my couch. I'm going to sit down here. Like it was so disappointing. At a minimum, it was disappointing.
If I'm doing my math right, so we're talking about 19 minutes out of 45 that they played without a field goal.
Half the game, basically.
Hard to win games that way.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
The number,
and the 25 offensive rebounds.
I was just going to say that's the number that I think is the most shocking, because those are second chance points.
Unbelievable.
Times 25 times, basically.
Yeah, unbelievable. Like that's just unacceptable. And Coach Hoiberg brought that up in the post game, both like on the radio and in his like 3 minutes of press conference stuff. It's just
I really got to be careful on what I say about that. So
I'm trying, Coach.
You're talking about, so they missed Rutgers missed 48 shots. They rebounded 25 of those. That's
what
over
I'm saying. Like 50% of like second chance points.
Part of that
put back up.
Part of that too is Rutgers. Oh, they're just not good. Offensively in particular, they take some really bad shots.
And they have some bad misses.
Yeah, and which turns into bad misses, and the bad long twos, deep threes, contested threes turn into long misses.
Gets you to like 12 to 15.
Yeah, but they turn into long, tougher rebounds, right? But it's still, so your guards got to rebound in, or somebody. And Bryce Williams actually did a nice job of rebounding. But
Bryce Williams had a really nice game.
He was great. But the Juwan, people are pointing to that. Yes, hey, if Juwan plays the whole game, doesn't get hurt or whatever, if he's in the whole game, he probably grabs one or two of those rebounds, and they win the game by 2-3-5. But he wasn't. You can't excuse that. They won games earlier in the year. Yes, the opponent wasn't near as good, but they won games without him earlier in the year. They need Josiah Alec to play better. I'm not saying score more points. I'm just saying like go.
Play
I need
his role better.
Be more of a dominant
Yeah,
force.
I need you to Dennis Rodman or whatever. Like I need you to get me 6 to 10 rebounds and 4 points and 5 fouls. That's what I need you to do.
I need more rebounds than fouls, though.
Yeah.
I need that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From him. That's what they need.
Mhm.
And Rink, I don't know if he struggled again. I mean, Big Cliff is he's really good.
Yeah.
Like
but Rink is kind of supposed to be the guy that can hold up to those types of guys.
The one thing that I know as well that I always went back to when we asked Rink Mass at Big Ten Media Days, we're like, hey, you're coming from Bradley. And, his answer was, yes, the Big Ten, Zach Edey, those guys. Yeah, they bigger guys. The one guy that he mentioned, he even said Big Cliff. And I'm like, oh, that you brought up the Rutgers post, is something, right? So he knew what he's getting into.
Yeah,
Maybe it's a little intimidating.
Yeah.
But it still is. That's 2 games now that they could have had road wins.
Yeah.
Minnesota, they should have won that game for easily should have won that game. I
mean, you're talking about blowing double-digit leads in both of those games on the road.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really acceptable. So we'll see. Tomorrow's a big game. They got to win. They got
Northwestern at home.
Yeah, Boo Buie is probably the best point guard in the league. Maybe one of right. He's up there in the conversation. They got to protect home court now. Like you just.
It's a non-negotiable.
Yeah, winning on the road is going to be hard. And
if you can't get the wins against Rutgers and Minnesota, you basically have to totally clean up at home.
Yeah. So before the season started, I even said, hey, they got to go 9-11 at least in the league to have a shot at the NCAA tournament, just based on their schedule, because they're going to rack up all these wins. Well, they did. So, at least 9-11. You have to. You can't go 8-12. Like that's just if you go 8-12, you're going to the NIT.
If you go 8-12, you need multiple wins in the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Yeah. And if you go 9-11, you probably don't.
Big Ten tournament could get weird.
Because I don't know that
there isn't like
I'm not enamored with anybody.
Yeah,
really.
Wisconsin's a top 12 team, and it's like, are they?
And they don't pass the eye test as a top 12 team for most years. Like I get it's a weird year,
right? And Michigan State's down, but by then they'll it's Izzo.
Yeah, do you really want to play Michigan State on that?
Illinois is probably the best team right now.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, right now,
I don't even know what to do with Purdue. I don't know what to do with them.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like they should be better. Like they should be the best team. Like this,
Northwestern beat Purdue too.
That's what I mean. Like their losses are to Northwestern and Nebraska.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're losing to Wisconsin and Illinois. It's Northwestern and Nebraska. So and that's not. I mean, listen. I know Nebraska's having a nice year. Northwestern is having a nice year too. And like you said, they got Bowie, who's a really good player. But you're not. If you're Purdue and you are who you're supposed to be, who you think you are, like you can't, those aren't games you lose. Right.
Yeah.
So that's
and Northwest. I mean, back to Northwestern tomorrow in Nebraska. Fred Hoiberg's never beaten Northwestern. That is the weirdest thing.
Wild to say out loud.
I was just going to say, putting that out in the air.
Yeah.
He was a little wrong.
It's a little weird, right? Like, I mean, I get it. Chris Collins has been all right.
He's a nice coach, but
thank you guys.
You're welcome.
It's Northwestern, man.
Thanks, bro.
Like that's one of the even since Nebraska's been since Fred Hoiberg's been here, like Northwestern's always one of the beatable teams on your schedule. Like when you're looking at the schedule, you're like, hey, maybe we split home and away with Northwestern. You probably live with
we
that.
Just entered a Husker football conversation. You should.
Well,
at what point?
Time is a flat circle. We all just keep.
At what point is Nebraska? Did Nebraska and Northwestern become a rivalry thing
in every sport? Weird. Apparently,
well, football and basketball. It's like that should not be a thing.
No,
like
it really shouldn't.
It should be like, yeah, we're just we know we can handle you, like, and it's a thing. Like, it's so weird.
It's like the battle of the ends or something. The weird ends. I don't know.
It's the NU battle because they get real upset.
Oh, whatever.
About
that is so dumb.
Listen, they get real up in the arms about
it's
it.
UNL around here when it's totally not. It's the dumbest conversation ever. Like,
is it dumber than the conversation about you picking your own title?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's not actually. No. Like Northwestern is not NU. Like, sorry. It's Northwestern. It's never been like, I don't know. It's just.
It is Northwestern University.
I know,
though.
but it's not. But
I feel like I would rather say NU for Northwestern than Nebraska, though.
Yeah, I mean,
well, because Nebraska's not even correct. It's
Right,
University
that's what I'm
of
saying. But like when
Nebraska.
people put NU and it's in red, and sure, I get it, but like it doesn't roll
U
off.
of N.
Yeah,
I mean, no.
No, I
Like,
know,
no
but
one's
like
ever said it.
you're just gonna say like I don't know. I'm from the KUMU KSU territory where that's all you say, and
Right.
then like throwing an NU just feels like illegal.
You straight to jail. Just
I don't know.
Jail,
You're like
period.
some. I worked at a newspaper around here, and NU was very much so part of the style in
Yeah.
reference to Nebraska.
That's well, yeah,
whoa.
regionally. I don't. Sorry, I
Yeah.
got distracted. Regionally, I guess that makes sense.
Thanks, Tom.
But I don't know. I just feel like when I see the NU in general, it doesn't like my brain isn't immediately like.
What do you think of Northwestern?
No,
No.
no. In this situation, yes, it's Nebraska. But like,
Yeah.
if I was not here in the state of Nebraska and I was out and about somewhere else, like I'm not going to refer and be like NU
Yeah, no, but
in general.
you're not. Yeah,
I don't know.
but you're not going to say Northwestern.
I don't know
either.
how we got here, but
If you one of those, which one of those two would you think if someone said NU and you were in?
well, I'm biased in this situation.
You were in Kansas City or something,
still-
like as a
still
12-year-old.
Well, probably still Nebraska.
Exactly.
Because
Not Northwestern. It's not Northwestern.
Even though it literally is Northwestern.
It's not.
I mean, hey, it's fine. Let's move on.
Not it.
To high school before
It's okay.
before Sautter flips the
It's
table over
flickering.
here. You
It
mentioned
is flickering. If we're on the,
you
my
mentioned
legs starting
That's
to
a
move
bunch of
little bit.
BS.
you mentioned some good matchups this weekend, starting with Miller North and
I don't even know
Elkhorn
what's
North.
going on.
Is that? Are you going?
yes, he's going.
Are you going
Yeah,
with that
I'll
one?
be there. I'm gonna after the Nebraska game.
Are you guys going?
After the Nebraska game, I'm gonna try and make it over there. Thanks, Dirk. I'm gonna try and go. Yeah.
What other matchups do you like this weekend?
Papio South, West Side, Papillion South, Papio South boys have a tough go there. Omaha Central tonight, and then which is a top 5 matchup, which no one saw coming at the beginning of the year. Top 6 at the beginning of the year.
For really either of those teams, right? I mean,
well, it was Papio Central wasn't there at the beginning of the year, and then tomorrow Papio South reschedule from last weekend. Tomorrow Papio South plays West Side, so got some
fun weekend for
got some
Papio South.
PowerPoints here
Yeah.
that they could really rack up if they can do it. Papio South Central matchup is kind of, you got to bring your lunch pail and some toughness and stuff against Central. So we'll see that point guard matchup will be interesting. Reese Kircher for Papio South and Delron Thomas for Central. And Delron's had a heck of a year right now. So Reese gonna have to play well tonight. And Bryson Ball, obviously, what do they do with him? Put some length and athleticism, maybe with Deshaun Prince on him a little bit, or Devin Holman could maybe roll to him too, or Kevin Newsom, who's smaller and tough, really tough. He could kind of throw some elbows in his side a little bit too.
Okay.
So that, and then, Prep had a busy week already with Gretna last night winning, and then they beat Bryan on Tuesday. So Prep's kind of figuring things out a little more. Bellevue West plays Bryan tomorrow, and Bellevue West tonight plays somebody I can't remember. But the Nebraska Prep Classic is tonight and tomorrow. Is good matchups. Millard West girls play Johnstown, Iowa. Girls, and Johnstown's number 1 in Iowa, and Millard West is number 1 in Nebraska. So that is definitely a thing. Boys Town, DC West is tonight. This is at DJ Sokol Arena. And then Papillion La Vista and Platteview girls and their boys play each other. But it starts tomorrow at 9 a.m. with Freeman and Glenwood, Iowa playing each other. And then the girls game, Pender, the Penn Dragons are the defending champs in D1, D2 class. And then they play Glenwood, Iowa, which Glenwood's traditionally pretty good. And then Malcolm and St. Paul girls, and Malcolm and Lewis Central boys play. Papio South versus Lewis Central girls is after that at 2:40. And then Norris and Sioux City Heelan boys is a good one because they're two teams that have nice players. Sioux City Heelan is coached by Matt Hahn, former Fremont High guy, Mitch Hahn's brother. And they got a guy that's going to, I believe, Wayne State, Division II guy. He's their main scorer. And Norris is just a bunch of young guys that are really good. Norris in Class B is one of the better teams. And then that Millard West Johnstown Iowa girls game is at 5:30. And then Elkhorn North, Millard North girls is at 6:55. And then there's two games after that at 8:20 and 9:45. So we're talking 9 a.m. to
9:45 p.m. is tip off.
Yeah,
who?
That is North Bend and Tri-Center Iowa girls.
Wow.
North Bend Central.
So that game's wrapping up at what, like 11:15?
Yeah, I was just gonna say the last handful of years I've been sat in the gym, the whole day for this, and that 9:45 game definitely does not tip
Starts
off
at like 10:30.
Yeah, it's definitely not 9:45.
So you're gonna be there from like probably 8:30 a.m. to midnight.
If you go, I'll go. I'm thinking I'll go in the morning and then go to Lincoln and then for the Nebraska game and then come back.
Okay.
So,
that's Saturday, right? So where are you at tonight?
Tonight I'm actually off. I have a function I need to attend with my wife.
Okay.
My wife.
Look at you, family man.
Took a Friday off. It's like
I didn't even know you did that.
Normally don't. It was like, okay, it's basketball season. I can kind of work it.
You got a little more leeway than you do.
Yeah, because teams play multiple times a week.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. In the fall, there's zero chance.
Yeah, you can't take a Friday off.
Yeah,
in the fall.
there's no way.
You're Bill Belichick, no days off.
Yeah, there's no. There's something I could say right here. So, and I'm gonna hold my tongue. I'm gonna say it. There's no. There's no. Well, I haven't had a Friday night off in a couple weeks. I need, two Fridays from now. I need it off. No, you don't. It doesn't work for me. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
No, tell us how you really feel.
Good talk. I thought you were going to make a Bill Belichick comment. That's what I was expecting.
Listen, man. All I gotta say is, if you don't love it, leave it. USA #1.
Coming up next, we've got the Warhorse Sportsbook Sports Cleanup. We will get to a bunch of stories that we haven't hit yet today, including some NFL storylines, and one including our guy Bill Belichick.
He's not my guy at all.
He's Mike Sauter's favorite head coach of all time. Bill Belichick, our chief basketball correspondent. He picked that name himself. We've got more Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio here on AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, and KFOR in Lincoln. It's time for the War Horse Sportsbook Sports Cleanup. It means it's also time to remind you about the War Horse Festival of Games. They've got a $100,000 prop card challenge and a $20,000 cash or free slot play drawing. All you have to do is be a War Horse Sportsbook Rewards member, War Horse Casino Rewards member, and for every $50 sportsbook ticket that you have between now and February 1st, you get an entry into both the prop card challenge and the $20,000 drawing. The prop card challenge is super easy. It's for the Pro Football Championship on February 11th. All you got to do, get all your props right, 25 for 25, and you've got a chance at $100,000. But if you're like our guy Andrew out in Vegas right now and probably going to go
He's
like
in Vegas?
He is. Probably going to go like 0 for 25. Don't worry. You still get a chance to win $20,000 in the drawing. You don't have to get any of them right for that.
Is this his own batch strip now?
Can we get her mic on, Shano?
Shane?
Yeah, it's on. Go.
There we go.
Is he?
Now
he?
you're on.
Is this his own batch trip that he's
This
on
is
now?
his bachelor party.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Finish for Rogers.
But even if
We didn't get invited, bro.
No, we didn't. Even if you
Your
go,
co-host didn't invite you.
it's
How do you feel?
it is what it is. It is what it is. No, you can just validate those entries at the War Horse Casino in Lincoln, and you are good to go. That's the War Horse Festival of Games. War Horse Sportsbook, no bets, no glory. Only available in Lincoln for that, but you can still place your sports bets either in Lincoln or here in Omaha at Horseman's Park.
You know what? I'll take it.
I feel like we should talk more about this Andrew bachelor party.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, it's
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring up a topic.
No, it's fine. Well, first of all, we couldn't both be gone because then there wouldn't be a radio show. So,
What do you mean Avery could do it?
You and Avery just do 3 hours?
Avery could do it. I said.
I think she would fight you if she had to
I'm
talk to you for 3
capable.
hours.
I mean, I've sat in the chair before. It's fine if I have to.
No
one asked me.
He's off in his he's off doing his bachelor party in Vegas.
Wow. I'm just trying to imagine what that will be like for him.
That scares me. Vegas batch trips, I think, are a terrible idea.
Why is that?
They're dumb anyway, but
I don't know. Just like it feels like this, like
it's not.
It feels like this, like movie scene trip. Like go somewhere fun. But I knowing Andrew, he's like just sitting at a.
I think he's probably
they're just sitting in a casino all day.
I know.
Yeah, I think he's literally just going to sit
very
at the sports
Andrew.
book all day.
Yeah, he.
Which is
which you could do in Lincoln.
You could do it at the casino in Lincoln. It is. Yeah, no, I've actually never been to Vegas.
Whoa, ever in your life?
Ever?
Really?
Ever?
No, I haven't.
Wow, in July I saw the sun come up in Vegas. I walked out of a Denny's and I'm like, oh, the sun's up.
That was a classic show right there.
Oh yeah, I had to jump on the show and with like literally no sleep.
Why were you there?
Basketball. AAU basketball.
Oh. Yeah, they have a big AAU basketball stop in Vegas.
Yeah. But I was just like, all right, I guess I'm just gonna stay awake for the show for my radio hit.
I'd like to go. I've just never had a reason really to go.
I remember I showed the sphere. I took my computer and I was like, here's the sphere.
The sphere?
The sphere?
The dome.
Yeah,
they call it
that?
The sphere.
Yeah, I have. Got it.
I
didn't know it was there in June. I thought this was new.
This is July.
Oh.
I mean,
it was definitely there. It was definitely a thing.
Okay, yeah, true.
It was
I think
definitely
it opened officially.
the outside of it was
Got
definitely had NBA Summer League thing pasted all over it. So yeah, and they were getting ready for the atrocious Formula One event that happened. So thank you, dear baby Jesus. That's right.
Big Formula One guy.
No,
just like you're a big Bill Belichick guy.
No, cheater. Hate him. With arms wide open.
With arms wide open.
God.
That's my favorite clip of you ever. It's the best thing you've ever said on radio. Okay, so I have to ask, like, so you're the Atlanta Falcons, right? And you're like, hey, we're going to interview Bill Belichick to be our head coach. No, I totally get it, right? Why do you have to interview him again?
I think you just have to go through the process steps of stuff.
Okay, but
isn't there NFL rules with that?
You're not interviewing Jim Harbaugh twice in LA.
Jim Harbaugh is going to San Diego, I feel.
Los Angeles.
Or whatever.
No, that's what I mean. Though, but like having a second
so
interview for an NFL head coaching job is unusual. That's weird.
Also, I think this is what I think about the Falcons. I think if Bill Belichick went there, it would be not great. Because they basically going back to what he just left with quarterback, very much so question. Now, the skill around said quarterback,
better.
Holy crap, right?
Yeah.
Like, really good. I think they maybe are just looking for some discipline, stability, stuff like that.
No, I get why you want to talk to Bill Belichick. I'm asking, why do you have to talk to him twice?
Yeah, you know, you know who he is.
Maybe they just want to have him back. Like they just okay, before we make this decision, we want to kind of talk to you again.
Isn't that what the
You've
first
never had a
interview
second
is?
interview before?
I have. I'm not Bill Belichick. I don't have 6 Super Bowls.
I'm curious if it was one of those like you have the first interview conversation, and then it's like you come back for the like just the clarity of the goals and things where like we know by the end of it, like we're basically telling you
if
like
you get a
job's
second,
yours.
you're
No, but was it being reported like he's going in for the second round table? You know?
Yeah, I don't.
And it just has to.
That's why
it
I'm
happens
confused.
to be a blurred line. I don't know.
So I assumed that's what the first interview was because his resume is very public.
Right.
It's not like you're like, hey, what did you do at your last job?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think maybe part of it's probably the like, will he be able to pick the ingredients conversations?
Yeah, but
those are probably tough.
Isn't that the only conversation to have with Bill Belichick though? Is like, hey, we know what you've done. We know what you're capable of. Are you insisting
also, how long are we going to do this for?
Are you insisting on personnel control? Like, what are you thinking for offensive staff? Like, to me, that's all one conversation. I don't understand having to talk to Bill Belichick twice to get like, it's not like he's some offensive coordinator that you have no idea anything about.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I understand what you're saying. I'm just curious if that second one's more of a like all right, we've
this
got,
is how this is going to work if you want the job.
Yeah,
we've had the interest meeting. Now we're smoothing the details, and by the end, we'll announce job is yours. I don't know.
That's
okay.
fair.
Wait, let's put this into perspective.
He's a cheater.
Okay, if Bill Belichick happened to be the quarterback, the next head coach for the Jets, are you?
He was the head coach for the Jets for a day.
I'm saying,
and then he backed out. That's why
I'm saying
5 seconds.
I'm saying right now, your fandom for the Jets and where you think the Jets could go if Mr. Rodgers is back and great.
He's going to be back and great.
Okay, so like if the head coach is Bill Belichick, are you on board still or are you bouncing?
No.
You will stop rooting for the Jets.
That's probably not true. I would not be happy though.
Okay.
What if he gets you a Super Bowl?
I'll say, what if he wins a Super Bowl for the Jets?
Then
Like,
what?
how conflicted are you?
Very.
Really?
Yeah.
You're a Jets fan.
Would you feel the same way if Jim Harbaugh was the head coach too?
No, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
My
just you don't like one specific cheater.
My disdain.
It's not even about the cheating for Belichick. It's that he left the Jets, right? That's why you hate him. I feel like you don't actually care about the cheating.
And
you
he
just
went
use
to the
that
Patriots,
as like
and then they won a lot, and
Yeah.
he cheated multiple times to win a lot.
But if he did all of that with the Jets, you'd have no problem.
He
Instead,
cheated against the Jets. It was Eric Mangini, head coach Jets team, that he did the filming of the whatever, like the sideline and stuff, or that
allegedly.
he allegedly happened that he maybe didn't know about, kind of like Connor Stallings. No one knew about that guy.
I mean, listen, it's very plausible that a head coach who is a control freak has no idea what's happening on his staff. It's a very plausible explanation.
Did you guys?
I hate the Patriots with every bone in my body. The Cheatriots are terrible. I hate them.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm a New York Jets fan. It's frankly because they've won so much.
Because they've beat your guys' butts.
And part of the Belichick thing is like he was supposed to be. Imagine if he would have stayed being the head coach and would have been the head coach for 20 years.
Drafted Tom Brady.
Probably not, but
how great would that
we
have
still would have at least won. I mean, we would have maybe made it to a Super Bowl in that 20 years.
Maybe.
You have to understand the Jets' best 2 years of my life. I am 44. I was born in the 70s.
They were 5-7.
Was
no, they had the
was
sand,
when in 2009,
Sanchez.
2010 when they made the AFC Championship game back-to-back.
Rex Ryan
with
and
no
Mark
offense
Sanchez.
at all. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
you
Rex
put some respect
Bart Scott,
on Mark
can't wait.
Sanchez's name.
See you in Pittsburgh, mother.
You can't say that on air.
I know.
Can't say that.
I actually sent that to our boss, who is a Patriots fan.
Yep.
Because it was the anniversary of the other day.
Bart Scott. Yep.
Yeah.
You know, today's the anniversary of the Michael Crabtree, Richard Sherman,
really?
Richard Sherman, Aaron Andrews
Interview.
Interesting.
Yeah.
She has a great podcast clip about that. Her podcast.
Really?
She broke it all down and she like goes back and like listens to it and like dissects it, and it's actually really interesting.
I'm still furious that they threw a fade pass in that situation.
Belichick, go ahead and go to Atlanta. Ruin those guys.
Very bitter Mike Sautter here.
Hate him.
That is your Warhorse Sportsbook Sports Cleanup. Make sure to get entered into their Festival of Games, $100,000 prop car challenge, and $20,000 grand prize drawing. Coming up next, we're going to wrap up the week with our friend Matt Vrzal here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Now let's find out what Matt Vrzal is better at, telling stories or making pizza.
Matt.
Matt's an exceptional young man.
Matt Vrzal.
Happy birthday, Matt.
You know, Matt, he's a tremendous athlete.
Matt Vrzal.
Come on, Matt, I'm with you.
You know, like Matt Vrzal, you're one of the sexiest people in the world, but you're not one of the most beautiful. How did that happen?
Here is Matt Vrzal.
All right, Matt, thank you very much.
Wrapping up the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, and KFOR in Lincoln. I'm Ravi Lulla. Avery Howard here with me. Mike Sautter sticking around for the end of the show, as we always appreciate him doing. And, of course, Shane Schillerberg producing. We are, I think, joined now on the Warhorse Sportsbook hotline by our guy, Matt Vrzal, former Husker and owner of Paisan's Pizzeria. Verz, how are you, bud?
Good, boys. How we doing?
Oh, we're not too...
Avery's here too, Matt. Not just me. And
That's
female.
okay. That's okay.
Yeah, boy.
Oh, Avery, I don't know if I've ever met Avery.
Yeah, we've never met.
Oh.
Well,
I think she big timed me though down at the state championship.
Whoa.
Did you big time Verz?
When? Where? At
If you don't like mildly overweight bald guys, I totally get it.
No, I wasn't at football state this year.
Yeah.
Oh, you weren't?
No, probably
might
Anna.
have been Anna. Anna might have big time too. Anna might have big time too.
But Anna.
Tough crowd.
I'll put
Tough crowd.
that blame right on Anna.
What's your story, Avery?
Oh wow.
What's my story?
Yeah.
The brief synopsis. I'm from Kansas City. I got into Omaha because I played soccer at Omaha and got into sports reporting and broadcasting there, and now I'm here.
What position you play?
I played outside forward or outside mid, depending on the formation.
You got an EPL team?
Huh? No, I do not actually. I know.
Really?
She's not a real soccer person.
Verz, do you have an EPL team?
I wish I've actually said this. I said that I never really connected to a team at a young age, so I've been hard to pick and follow one, and the times are always wonky. And so if I had one I firmly connected with, I think I'd actually be into it. Because when I catch a game, I really enjoy them.
So now, do you go down and watch KC play?
I used to a lot. Yeah, when we were actually pretty decent, we've kind of been
Yeah,
but that
falling off a little bit.
Yeah, atmosphere is great though.
What's his name's coming to Kansas City?
Who?
I'm gonna say it. Hurrdat Stadium is a banger down there. I heard they go.
Yeah.
Where's
Messi guys coming? Whatever.
Oh yeah, they're gonna play in Arrowhead.
I thought they are.
Yeah, they're gonna play at Arrowhead. I want to go to that for sure.
We should take the team down. Let's go.
It's been in discussion.
There we go. Verz,
you can have Avery show you the town.
Yeah, there you go.
Your boy is out on that one.
Do you have an English Premier League team, Verz?
Oh, yeah. I'm a Man City guy. Man City. So I started watching a buddy of mine in about 90, probably been around like 98, 99. But he's a big EPL guy, and he would come down. And he's like, "We're gonna watch soccer." I was like, "All right, whatever." Well, Man City at the time was like really thuggish, so it was like super rough. It was like a combination of rugby and soccer, and then they'd pan into the crowd, and there'd be like fights, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is awesome!" And then the oil money came in and bought them, and now they're awesome. And so everybody thinks I hopped on the bet. I got into it a couple weeks ago. The guy, he had a Man United shirt. I was like, "Nah, dog, we're City joint."
Verz,
if you just don't watch the ball, soccer is really cool. And all of, but that's the reason I say that though is all of the Chicago Bulls offense was based on the triangle principles of soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There you go. Back cuts, tic-tac-toe, all that stuff.
Verz has a German hockey league team that he's a fan of or something like that. Swedish hockey league team. What is it?
I just like gambling on those.
Yeah, whatever.
I have no affiliation to any hockey team but the Chicago Blackhawks.
Mm-hmm.
Verz, I appreciate that you're a Man City fan back in the day before they got good. So, no, that's cool.
I don't even know what that means.
Well, so they, like you said, the oil money.
It's okay. I don't need to know. We're good.
Mike's too cool for soccer, guys.
It's not true. Soccer. I go to the state soccer tournament every year.
I'm a Liverpool guy, actually. I enjoy the Reds.
That figures.
This is okay.
Why does that figure? Why does that figure, Verz?
Football.
No, you probably know this name. I saw a highlight video in college or late high school maybe of Steven Gerrard from Liverpool, and I became obsessed. I couldn't get over it, so I've been a Liverpool fan ever since.
That's fair.
Verz did
Avery, nice to meet you via the radio.
As well.
We'll have to bring her into the pizza joint sometime, and you guys can meet officially.
Wings are phenomenal there. The wing. Verz knows my order there. The wings are phenomenal.
What is it?
Verz.
They're just Mikey gets 10 buffalo oven baked.
Yeah.
With ranch.
No sauce.
We know that,
no ranch. No nothing. Just
I just
raw.
put ranch out there because I know he doesn't want it.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had the wings there, Verz. I think that might be the one thing I haven't had.
They're great. Yeah.
Huh?
They really are
good.
good.
Daughters get a 14-inch hamburger pizza.
Yep. Yeah, they do.
They
go there without me.
Girlfriends.
They go there without me.
Oh yeah, they got grandma works. Grandma.
Yeah.
They're just like, grandma's gonna take us.
Yeah.
So they'll show up without you. I'm like, oh, dad's not coming today? Like, nope.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
And it's Matt's Pizza Place, not anything else. Yeah. So
good work.
Yeah.
I have gone in there a couple times for like a quick bite without my wife, and she was very upset at me.
Yeah.
I've learned my lesson. I'm not allowed to go solo anymore.
Let's do a team lunch outing.
We should.
We should do a team lunch outing.
Verz, I got a question for you. Did Matt Rhule stop by yesterday for lunch when he was in town, or no?
He could have. I had to go run some errands at about it's probably about 12:15.
Oh.
But staff, I feel, would have told me that. So I'm going to go with a no.
How do you feel about him? Like coaches obviously are making their rounds around the city and state right now. And, he's doing a good job, I think, of targeting the specific places that he needs to go. Obviously, he went to Lincoln Southwest yesterday for Jackson Carpenter, who they've offered, and then they offered Millard South's Isaac Jensen yesterday after Matt Rhule went to Millard South yesterday, and then Millard North, Vermont, Newberry offered them, and then obviously Millard, and then he went to Omaha North for Tyson Terry, which obviously makes a lot of sense. How do you feel he's done locally here as far as recruiting?
I think they're doing a really good job, and I think an overlooked piece of of college sports, and maybe just athletics in general, is it's all a relationship business.
Yeah.
Now, they're just trying to get out, and they're new here.
Yeah.
You know, and they've made their quick rounds, and there's some coaches that really, really want to talk to them and tell them how great their programs are. And there's some coaches just like, yeah, we'll get a hold of it if we got people.
Right.
But just to have that rapport and be able to have a good line of communication, I think is just a big thing. Those have been severed for so long. And it isn't that you're going to have a kid for them every year.
Right.
But simple research, and you go through and you say, hey, if you have, selfishly for me, if they ever came to me and said, if you have another Blake Anderson, will you please let us know? I'm like, yeah, no problem. I tried that with the other guys. They told me to mind my own business, so I did. But if you know, that way, if I don't have them, then I know now it's on me. So if I got a kid, or if I see a kid that we play, so yeah, I'm putting my name on this, so I better be sure about it. And that's a big thing. But you take what you have as your recruiting group and you expand that out with no cost, because everybody in the state wants to see Nebraska succeed.
Right.
And it was the beauty of what they used to do back in the day, is that every high school coach felt valued and important to them. Be that coming down to the coaches clinic and having 700 beers with Milton Dan, or if it was, you know, T.O. stopped into Hyannis because Terry Keneally went to school out there, that's a big deal. And everybody, when Nebraska is great, the whole state is involved. Yeah. It's very simple. People complicate sports all the time. You build community, you build a relationship with each other, you make sure that your success is more important than my own success, and you'll win. It's very easy.
Verz, did you ever get a sense of kind of why the previous staff wasn't, I mean, because like you said, you're putting your name on a guy and kind of putting your reputation on the line as well. Is it just that they didn't trust the eyes of the high school guys, or did you ever get a sense on why they weren't really interested in kind of taking the suggestions from some of the high school coaches?
I don't know if they had full respect for the talent in the state.
Fair.
And then I probably wasn't the best messenger just to have to relay the message. maybe in retrospect, maybe should have had somebody else make that call. But I mean, no word of a lie. It was a 5-minute personal discussion getting in here to even make the call. So
yeah.
But then I got mad, and I was like, well, in about 10 days here, we're going to play somebody that's coming to your school, and we're going to give him the business. And so, and I might have said a couple things walking off the field after that happened. And I've never claimed to be polished.
I'm pretty
sure. It got to the point where the head coach, as we're walking off the field, asked me, he's like, "Why are you like this?" This was this was Turbin. Turbin said that to me. He goes, "Why are you like this?" And then I might have said 2.5 million F-bombs in various forms and shapes. But live and learn, right?
Well, you live at least. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure you'd do it any differently if you had the chance first.
Nope, not even a little bit.
Matt Vrzal, former Husker, owner of Paisan's Pizzeria. We appreciate you joining us as always. We will catch up with you again next week.
See you, wonderful people of Hurrdat Media.
That's Matt Vrzal, our Friday guest. We appreciate his time as always. And I learned something new. Didn't know Verz was a soccer guy.
Yeah.
I'm excited. We're not. Sautter, you can go to your meeting. It's fine.
See you later.
That's all for
Goodbye.
this week at Hurrdat Sports Radio. We will be back on Monday. Well, I will at least. Somebody will be with me. It won't be Andrew. It might be Avery.
It might be. We'll see.